of Biophysics and Biochemistry and Biophysics, University of Tehran, on the Faculty of Medicine. So nothing to say, he's one of our assets in UNESCO networking.
Thank you. Very kind of you. Thank you.
And Dr. Murugesh, and I think all of them will be introduced officially by our executive member of the CPSHR and Chief Administrative Officer of BLD Association, Dr. R.V. Kulkarni. So he will introduce all these people in time by one. And I think, what is the time now, Dr. Chandrasekhar?
This is exactly 11 o'clock.
Exactly 11 o'clock. So just let me see. People will be joining through YouTube. YouTube Live has started now.
Yes, sir.
So I think that my panelist is there. Chairman of the today's distinguished lecture, Dr. A.M. Ramesh is there.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, sir. It is a pleasure and honor that on behalf of the government of Karnataka, you have accepted this invitation and you are with us.
It is my pleasure.
Yes, actually, I informed to Dr. Mulimuni sir also. He said, if possible, he will definitely join. He wishes his greetings to us, and our Vice Chancellor also wishes greetings. President sir wishes greetings. So Dr. Mohantesh is in the field. He is in cycling in Western Ghat. So I think whenever he gets a chance, he said that he'll immediately join. I think we can see him live in action of environment to occasion of today's great functions. Yes, and Dr. Pradeep Malaji is here, and he is the vice principal of BLD Engineering College and head of the research. And he's an IIT post PhD and a great scholar. And I am finding Dr. Pradeep is here. Dr. Lata Mullur, our IQS, is also finding. He is here. And my spouse, Dr. Swastika, is also fine. She's a professor of chemistry, BLD Engineering College. She is also here. And I think that many other people are there, and at the moment, 62 number will be increasing. So, can I start? Because I have to hand over the responsibility to Dr. R.V. Kulkarni on behalf of the CPSHR. Can I start now? Today's chairman, Dr. A.M. Ramesh, I need your permission to start the program.
Please start, sir. Very good morning to all. Shall we start or introduce?
Yes, yeah. I will now just start the program as we have decided.
Yes,
so, welcome to all the guests. Today's distinguished speaker, Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar. He will be introduced by Dr. A.M. Ramesh, the chairman of the session, another distinguished scientist and chief executive officer of KSTA, DST, Government of Karnataka, and other panelists are all here. There are 4 great panelists with us. Dr. Hamid Mubashiri from University of Tehran and UNESCO Unity in Life Science Head in Iran. Dr. Arvind B. Patil, the Dean of Faculty of Medicine and a great surgeon himself and professor of surgery from BLD University, School of Medicine. Dr. Murugesh Pattan Shetty, he is the noted environmental scientist, though he is an administrator, he's an MBA and is a PhD from a great institution and is an associate professor, very young, dynamic and environmental activist. He has a lot of work he has done. He, Dr. Arvind, Dr. Mohantesh Biradar, and now they are getting great support from Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar. It's a great changes in the geotopological in BL and Bijapur scenario as such in the North Karnataka, which is dot cone. And these are there, and Dr. Mohantesh will be joining. So this is an BLD association on behalf of the Committee for Promotion of Science, Humanity and Research. I just welcome all of you. And this regarding the whole program, we have already planned, myself and Dr. R.V. Kulkarni, today's moderator and coordinator. Now I'd like to hand over the mic to Dr. R.V. Kulkarni to keep on proceedings. I request all of you that when you are not accept the panelist and the chair and the speaker, remaining others can mute their mic compulsorily, except the speakers all, except all the speakers and panelists, just all should mute the mic. This is very important because in the Zoom platform, I request, and this is a great day today for occasion of 75th, today the eve of 75th Independence Day of India. It's a great occasion. We are celebrating today in a befitting manner to point it out a great objects that is in front of us, which should be focused by every nation of the globe if they want to keep the earth survive for another a few billion years. Otherwise, its lifespan in billion it will be reduced. So if, these days we are celebrating 75th with an remembering environment issues, and with us a great US-based environmental expert and a scientist of his own caliber and a visitor of the world and a very young and dynamic. In fact, he's just a few years senior to my nephew-in-law in same places in ISRO, where my nephew and he both did PhD. So it's a great honor for us. And I hope Dr. R.V. Kulkarni will start the program now. Over to Dr. R.V. Kulkarni.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. At the outset, I would like to welcome a renowned scientist, environmentalist, Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar, research team leader, principal agro ecosystem scientist, who has consented to deliver a lecture, distinguished lecture on changing diets, diversity, consumerism, and climate. Sir, we thank you on behalf of BLD Association and Committee for Promotion of Science, Humanity, and Research. Welcome, sir. And I also welcome the session chair of today's lecture, Dr. A.M. Ramesh, Chief Executive Officer of KSTA, Department of Science and Technology, IT and BT, Government of Karnataka. Welcome you, sir. I also welcome today's panelist, Professor Hamid Mobesheri, Professor, Institute of Biophysics, Faculty of Medicine, University of Tehran, and Coordinator and Head of UNESCO Unit Wing under UNESCO Chair of Life Sciences for Iran. Welcome you, sir. I also welcome Dr. Arvind B. Patil, Dean, Faculty of Medicine, BLD, deemed to be University, Vijayapura. Welcome you, sir. I also welcome Dr. Mahantesh Biradar, who will be joining shortly. I welcome Dr. Murugesh Pattan-Shetty, the coordinator for Vriksha, very young and dynamic person who has contributed a lot to change the environment of Bijapur to a little extent. He is working hard. Welcome you, sir. And I also welcome all the participants, distinguished professors, heads of the department, vice chancellor, registrars. I welcome you all to this webinar. I request Professor A.M. Ramesh, CEO of KSTA, DST Karnataka, to chair this session. Dr. A.M. Ramesh, presently working as Chief Executive Officer, Karnataka Science and Technology Academy, KSTA, Government of Karnataka, Bangalore. He did his PhD in Aquatic Sciences from University of Agriculture Sciences, Bangalore, a renowned institution. He was trained in International Environmental Law offered by United Nations Institute for Training and Research in 2011. He was trained in International Agriculture Center, Netherlands, and International Ocean Institute at Canada. He was instrumental in starting an innovative MTech course in geoinformatics that was started jointly by Karnataka State Remote Sensing Application Center, Bangalore, Survey of India, and Visvesvaraya Technological University, Belgavi. With this brief introduction, I present before you Dr. A.M. Ramesh, who is chairing the session today. I request Professor Dr. A.M. Ramesh to introduce today's speaker and start the session.
I think
At the
so.
outset, good morning, everybody. At the outset, I would like to welcome all to this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahatsav distinguished talk by very renowned agriculture scientist. Can you, am I audible, sir? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar, Principal Agro Ecosystem Scientist, and from the prestigious ICARDA, he will be delivering a distinguished talk on changing diets, diversity, consumerism, and climate. And it is always a privilege to associate with BLD University in organizing webinars, conferences, and workshops. In fact, KSTA has organized two conferences in association with BLD University already. And of course, many workshops we have conducted under the guidance of Kushal Das, sir. We have conducted a few already. Let me briefly, in one or two sentences, let me tell about KSTA. Karnataka Science and Technology Academy was started in the year 2005 under the Department of Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka. KSTA was chaired by renowned space scientist and former chairman of ISRO, Padma Vibhushan, Professor U.R. Rao. In the year 2005, he was the first chairman. Now at present, Professor S. Ayappan, former Director General ICR, Secretary DARE and Chancellor Central Agriculture University, is our honorable chairman. KSTA programs cover entire educational pyramid, right from high school to the university level. In fact, we have organized programs in every district of the state. At this juncture, I am very grateful to distinguished chair professor and our good well-wisher, Dr. Kushal Das sir, for providing me this opportunity to chair the session. I am privileged to welcome distinguished resource expert, Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar, to deliver his talk. I also welcome Professor Hamid Mubashiri, renowned scientist and UNESCO chair and UNESCO coordinator, I'm sorry. I also welcome esteemed Dean of BLD Medical College, Dr. Arvind Patil, Dr. Mahantesh Biradar, Dr. Murugesh Patan Shetty, Dr. Lata, Dr. Swastika, and all the learned teaching faculty of BLD University. With this brief, I would like to introduce Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar. Dr. Biradar is a research team leader and principal scientist at CGIAR Research Center. He is the son of a farmer with multidisciplinary educational background in forestry, agriculture, genetic resources, space application, ecology, and environmental sciences, focusing on revitalizing agroecosystem for improving food, nutrition, ecological security. Dr. Biradar has authored and co-authored more than 225 scientific publications, and he has received many awards for his work, both national and international. He has developed models for sustainable farming, agroecology, and pioneered biodiversity farming for diet, diversity, sustainable living, and planetary health in the framework of ecologically sustainable and economically viable solutions. Sir will be delivering a talk on changing diets, diversity, consumerism, and climate change. As you know, on 9th of this month, August, IPCC released its report. In the wake of the release, this talk will be of great importance for audience. Sir will be talking on climate change also. With this background, now I'm privileged to welcome Dr. Biradar to deliver his distinguished talk. Over to you, Dr. Biradar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and chair and organizing committee and all the distinguished the people and leaders and the viewers and spectators in the distinguished lecture series. And it's my pleasure to be in this day, especially in the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav distinguished lecture series. Thanks to the entire organized team and the distinguished people and leaders who are organizing this session. And as chairman is already mentioned about the IPCC and climate and the diet systems, how it's going to impact. What I'll do in this series, I'll go to the most of the visualizations rather than too much of the text, so that I always believe that the picture tells 1,000 words, and interpretations I may be something else, but you can understand in different way. And the conscious living and awakening that consciousness in the citizen science and demography equally spread across the world, how they're going to help in sustaining our ecosystems and the health of the planet and the living systems. So that's where the core of this one. Because why you thought about that is very clear that what you eat, you become and serve. That is very well-known notion since the Gandhian era and in the Vedic era. And the food we grow at the rate we consume and dispose, and unsustainably we are disposing in every level. And often we consider health is wealth. And health is, the definitions wise, you often define health is the state of complete wellness in terms of the physically, mentally, socially, and what was just missing was ecologically. So in order to bring the healthy living and lifestyle, and that also the serve to the nature and environment, that is connecting to the 5 elements. We always talk about that Bhuta Suddhis, earth, water, air, and fire, and ether. Of course, that like we not look much into the ether side, but that is also where the hitting that ether space as well with the so much of the satellites revolving around the world. And as it is the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, 70 years of the independence, are you really independent in terms of the choice of the food we eat? Or we have any choice left to choose what you would like to change our food systems? I just quote here what Mahatma Gandhi ji, the father of the nations, and what diets he used to have, healthy diets and diet reform, he bought himself before teaching to the world. Gandhiji's the diets limited to his diet to naturally grown raw fruits, vegetables, the curd, not the milk, listen, curd, and coarse grains, millets, and unpolished rice and leafy vegetables, and pulses, what you call the beans, and neem seeds, and jaggery, and guava seeds, tamarind, and groundnut cake, often a steam or a boiled vegetable with a hint of the salt. Look into that entire so simplistic the lifestyle, and look into all those things we are growing here, whether taking the raw grain, coarse grains, and millets, or neem, or jaggery, and guava, and groundnut, what you call the peanuts, and those are all that grow in the very the dry conditions in the dry areas of the world, and basically the limited water source. That's what you grow. So it's very clear that the healthy living and health is wealth. That's what our ancients, the poor, we always said. That's become very prominent during the COVID the era, and food we choose and our entire systems rely on that one. It's become a vitality for that one. So look into the solutions. We're working at a CGIR. It's called a Consortium of International Agriculture Research. It's spread across the world, and 15 research centers. And the one of the center working is called International Center for Agriculture Research in the dry areas. And the dry areas constitute nearly about 41% of the world, and 1/3 of the population's livestock in this research. And look at the entire global perspective of the food systems. The mostly we are eating either one side of the world too little or too much, and wrong type of the food. Most of the wrong type of foods we're eating the last 30-40 years, and at the cost of unsustainable the natural resources, environment, human and planetary health. When looking at the planetary health in talking about, and all the red areas, what you can see around the circle or within circles, those are the outside the boundary. I'll come back to on that, what does it mean the outside the boundary. Anything, our lifestyle or the food systems we require, if you fit into within the planetary boundary conditions, what we call ecological ceiling and social foundations. We have to fit within that one, whether take the food, the water, health, educations, everything we fit in that green circle. And but what's happening now? And as diversity of the food is declined drastically in the nearly last about 100 years or so, but very prominent in the last 30 years, in 3 decades. And at health recommendations by the Eat Lenses Commissions or all the nutritionists and ecological systems and diversity, Our plates should constitute nearly 50% of the fresh fruits and vegetables, but we are eating less than 2% of that, the fresh fruits and vegetables. What the Gandhian diets I mentioned earlier, that used to have nearly about 60 to 70% of that diets constitute of that's raw fruits and vegetables. And but recommended diets, we need to have the 50% of the fruits and vegetables, but on an average, world is eating less than 10%. In India, in Southeast Asia, in Africa, eating even less than the 5%. In India, is less than 2%. That is really, really a tragedy. Being a nation of the vegetarians, we are eating the fresh fruits and vegetables very little. So that demand, why that you declined in that one? Since in the independence in the 75 years, what Gandhiji used to have so much of diverse food, and we reduced to the only few items is countable. Like coming back to on that one. So that recommended that so that you have to 50% foods and balance agroecosystems, and that functions around restoring the environment. And look into that one, what happened now. So changing diet pattern, lifestyle that linked to sustainable living. And I was talking about the planetary health boundaries. So that look into that, just I'm giving the global averages, taking the Western diet systems right at the moment, and looking at this anything grow within this boundary conditions that's sustainable. But look into that, just giving example of the beef or the potatoes and eggs and the cereals, and is really the growing outside the boundary conditions. And look into our nuts, pulses, fruits and vegetables, they are within the very little the amount we are growing. So this is what you need to be bring to the increase these and decrease these things. So that's where we have the climate impact we can going to reduce. Changing diet itself that links to the lifestyle, and together we can switch the climate impact before it's go too late. So giving example here in the dryland diets, so we call dal roti, basically the pulses and the cereals are millets together. And even not talking about the coarse grain, if you go to millets, even this water consumption goes down. And I'm talking about one single plate diet for the person per day, and how much is going to consume. So if we switch to this, the vegetarian millets and pulse-based the grain food and diet, and plate, it should nearly about consume less than 1,250 liters for the entire consumptions per day. But you can switch to the chicken, and that's about 4,000 plus, and move to the mutton is 5,000 to 6,000, and depend upon your stock fed or the free grazing. And if you move to the beef, in the conservative estimate is about 13,000 liters of water required. Basically, they're consuming the complete the meat-based system, and they're taking the diets of the 13 people. So that now we are nearly reaching about 8 billion people, and we are struggling still. Nearly about 15% of the people go hunger. In India itself, nearly about 44 million people they go hunger. And just thinking about how much the work consuming one side and little consuming other side, how we can balance this one, so that how our in the green revolutions in the last since 60s to now, we are focused on the yield centric rather than the nutrient centric, so that we are limited only few crops and few grains, and yield is the focus. And how best we can shift that into the natural resources the consciously, especially water use in the world now. So it's very clear that we are going overshoot the world, and we are consuming more than what you can replenish the earth, and reaching nearly 4-degree temperature. Its consequences is worst in every terms, when I take the ecology, taken to the health and suffering, mental health, suicide, and everything that linked to the what's happening into the way we live and eat the food and the lifestyle. And that really human-induced climate change that's become the core. And what IPCC Millennium Ecosystem assessed that one, we may reach nearly about 1.5 degree to 2 degree if not action is taken. And despite of so much of the effort has been done across the world, but we are already crossed what we expected just a decade ago. So we're already like nearing to the 3 to 4 degree, and what's going to impact our entire environment. So this is really the consequences of our lifestyle, but it's not ending there, and we need to bend the curve for better future. Bending the curve means what I'm talking about, the 4 degrees Celsius. That's what you're heading to this one. Basically, we're degrading the soils and taking out the plants, and especially the trees and the animals and butterflies, invertebrates, vertebrates, everything we're diminishing here. So that's where we are irreversible damage to do that one. But in the last 30 years, some increased effort, conservation effort, and moving away from business as usual. And we started some conservation effort and started planting the trees here and there. And agriculture, the practice changing, but still that is negligible amount. So that still we are not going that one. Still, that's still the curve. Despite of the effort, we are still going down. Looking at the 2010 and 2050 to the 20, yeah, we are here now. Still, this curve is going down. So that you need to reverse that curve back to the thresholds where it used to be around 70s when we are born to the now, so that you have to bring this, bend this curve. What can make us to bend this curve? Bring the 4 degrees Celsius to the 3 degrees to 2 degrees to the 1 degree, but you should be thinking about a negative the growth, the negative carbon, the what you call a negative development in terms of the carbon sequestrations. Our agriculture growth and food and our carbon footprint, we move away from the positive to the negative, means carbon sink rather than the carbon source. That clearly indicates that regenerative practices that combines not only the productions but consumptions is one of the important. Consumerism, changing consumerism towards the conservations and restorations within a significant co-benefits to all the people, not only the traders, not only the people sitting in the elite positions, but distributed among the poorest of the segment of the society to the richest. And this is where we need to bring a culture and nature together. Then only we can leave something back to our new generations. We're already over-consuming, already like you look into the last week, the Overshoot Day we celebrated last month. And instead of the December, we came to already July 29. Means every 1 month you are over-consuming rather than replenishing. That means you are consuming more than what you are adding to the nature. So that really move away from the consequences of the no action to the return to the nature. So this is where very, very critical for the moment. So just looking into the system, we talk about a lot on this aspect. In the era of the humanist anthropogenic scenes, and we always talk about me and myself and my family, but you're not looking into the what me and myself and my family contribute to the nature and surrounding, taking care of the rest of the species around us. Is that going to shift our self-centric the behavior, the modern, the system of our schooling to always talk about the too much of the mark and think about not everyone wanted to be first in the class, everyone wanted to be the first in the best job, but we're not looking at the what that really a consequences of the rest of the population, rest of the people. And this really the showing that just looking to the average temperature changed over the last century to the now at the present. And this is what used to be our ancient system of the farming and living style. If you adopt that systems, and you're really back to this, the what you call the ecosystem-based approaches, but none of them are doing that. Nearly less than 1% is this one, and 99% is still we are the business as usual. That's consequences of the no action. It leads to the increase the temperature. It's not only temperature and land degradation, desertifications that impact on the human health as well as the wellness, and that in turn impacted the entire environment. So in order to bring back to the balanced ecosystems, we need to take a lot of the effort since now, else it's going to be the consequence, going to be adverse. So why is that going to happen that one? So he's really looking to I just look into the migration of the people from the rural to urban areas. A changing the diet and demography is really impacted very badly in terms of sustainability of our natural resources. Take example of 90s and how much of the percent of the people living in the urban area, and to the now nearly about the 50% to 55% of the people by 2020, they're living in the urban cities. And then looking into the impact on the entire environment, and very poor people, they spend most of their income for their food, nearly 50 to 70%. And on the other side, very rich people, they spend the equal amount or more on that on their health side. So this is such the drivers will consume too little or too high, that has huge consequences in this one. Not only that, we talk about the malnutrition, and also you need to look into the malnutrition and how the twofold hunger is impacting that side. One side, you are eating too little calories, other side, eating too much of the calories. One side, you are deprived of the nutrition, other side is just looking at the focus on the what you call a empty calories. And the lack of nutrition and hidden the hunger impact, that is huge, that nearly 2 billion people are micronutrient deficient, and that looking at the very close approach of why they are micronutrient deficient It is the way we eat, grow food and eat food and dispose and the consumptions, all that the link to the malnutrition, including the cooking. So this suddenly they bring the diet changes during the COVID times and Western world. We're already seeing that one of the rich people are affordable to the diversity of the food, and nearly 70% of the world population is ditching meat or the new report, but still that's in the practical sense. We're still talking about the rich or elite club, but still looking at the poor segment, still is increasing the meat consumptions. The India used to be the world vegetarian country, and nearly more than 75 to 80% of the people used to be a vegetarian about a century ago, and now that's reverse. Only about 15% left is vegetarians. Most of them are consuming the meat segments, and that's really but now the trend is reversing. There's increasing demand for the diverse food and the diets. But the question is there availability of the food, affordability? Can people affordable that food? Is it quality you can ensure when the huge demand? It is the surge of the adulteration is very common, and sustainability. Can you do that in sustainability? And also the way you cook without losing the nutrition. So this is what the consequences of the COVID. It taught us lessons to look back into the traditional system of the food and the way we grow the food for the better health and the people. And other things we disconnected for entire nature is connected with the soil. So that the healthy continuum is basically linked to the food and humans and life and the soil itself. So that this healthy food that connects to the continuum is the living soil and the plant life and the biota within around the human beings, including our gut biome. So the way we produce the food and way we consume, it has a huge impact on the entire environment. If you look very close, the way we produce the food and consume, that every aspect will link to what I call the sustainable, every 17 sustainable development goal. So can look into very closely that one, how that's really impacting our entire system. So this really drive us to go back to what you call the system change, inclusive agricultural system for the diets, diversity and healthiness, and what we now thinking about moving away from the yield centric to the nutrition centric, and what I call it is ecologically sustainable and economically viable option for rural welfare. We should be farm focused rural welfare. Then only if the rural community is healthy and they're growing healthy food, that has an impact on the urban community as well. That's nearly 50% of the world populations. So we should be thinking away from just more coming out of the land rather than more health per acre. So that's what the most of the ecologists think about, how that health per acre is not just only the healthy grain we are eating, but the health of the plants that's linked to our nutrition, soil health, and animals, and biota, and people, and planet. We have to look at the holistic way. Then only we can address what's happening now. So in order to bring the functional agroecosystems, I always called the Prakriti Sahaja Pavitra Krushi, means Krushi is talking about agriculture here. Why it's Pavitra, why it's holy is agriculture is having a Sarala. Sarala means there's two meaning. I cannot, very difficult to translate that in English. So that you can Sahaja, Sarala means you got simple in English, but if you look into our vernacular languages, Sahaja more holistic, very compromise everything. And our traditional agriculture system, they're looking into putting the center of this the graph as a farmer, and he's looking up to not just only about himself, but taking care of the entire nature and surrounding, and including what he can feed to the people and the world, and including the ecosystem itself. So that's what we think about. A lot of the development organizations and development thinking and research, we talk about when it comes to the environment, we talk about the ecosystem services, but without linking into the production follows functions, we have to first build the structure and functions. If taken care of the structure and functions, production become the default. Taken care of these things that happens in agriculture, going back to nature-based solutions, natural farming systems, and these three things taken care, that automatically our ecosystem services and well-being of the humans and the planet is become by default. So that's what I call farming in harmony with Mother Earth. So whatever every species in the world, take it over the ants, the butterflies, or termites, and earthworms, even small microbes in the living soils, always they try towards building the earth, building helping the nature, building the soil, but only one species, that is the human beings, we consider ourselves smart, but you never do that. That's we do always go against the natural principles in the modern world. So the farming in harmony with nature is basically, we talk about the ecology, how the rebuilding the systems, how the return to the soil, and agronomy, ecology. It's interconnected between the natural and the man-made world. So it's just basically trying to go away from the natural world and sitting in the AC rooms or doing something like computer can do it. We're going to modern technology, but until you can bring the artificial intelligence, the local intelligence, indigenous knowledge, we cannot going to address this one. So we need to build a system that produces consumers and culture, nature. They go integrated systems. Why I call it a Krushi is a pavitra, that is that holy, as any holy books, we can talk about it. So this is what we call it about agriculture, is the culture of growing a food, fiber, and fuel with celebrations. We look into the ancient agriculture systems, from the sowing to hoeing to the harvesting and thrashing, everything there is a event, there is celebration. That should be the agriculture, and in harmony with the nature for the sharing, caring, and the nurturing the environmental flows. So if you bring that one, so we talk about the Earth Day, Health Day, and number of other days come across. So this is what our food system should be, the diversity in every terms. So this is what we always celebrate, even the days on International Day of Soil and Pulses and Millets and Farming, Family Farming, Smart Food, Soil Day. Now this year, 2021, we got International Year of the Fruits and Vegetables. That really shows that how important become fruits and vegetables to our diet of the future. And that's where we need to be, just not celebrating that day, but that those kind of the celebrations happens in every day. So I'm just giving the example of the diversity of the food used in India. For example, I take just Dvudala Dhanya, pulses. We used to grow nearly about 19,000 known species in that genera, and nearly out of 65,000 land races and pulses cultivated in India. Just to give an example of here in the kidney beans, what's called Rajma, and that used to grow even just Uttarakhand, one state alone, more than 50 types of the Rajma varieties to go. And comes to the dry areas, we're growing where the chickpea or a tur gram or moth bean and the horse gram. There's so much of diversity of the crops were there, but we left it discountable in numbers. So that meat lost of that diversity. Secondly, during the colonial time, also subsequently, we named most of those pulses into the animal names. It's horse gram, chickpea, cowpea, like that, so that people think that these were the animals, not the human being. That's where slipped into that pattern as well, impacted so much. And also there's a modern world. There's the Walter Willett from the Harvard. They did this. He's the one led the commission, Eat Lancet Commissions on the healthy diets for a sustainable future. And a lot of the work has been done on that one. Just compare the polyunsaturated fat and saturated fat, and also the major protein sources compared to the animal-based things, whether the beef and chicken or fish. And then look into the almonds and tofu or pulses, lentils, for example. Lentils, even like look into the lentils shift to the horse gram, what you call hurali, that even more than almost double of that what is the lentil. So that really shows that the amount of the soluble proteins. So it's really the source of that one. Often in America, the people ask me, are you vegetarian? So how you meet the protein requirement? My answer was that look into the elk and buffaloes and the cows, they are the vegetarian to where they get their protein. So the simplistic way of understanding the food diets and the diversity of our agriculture systems, especially that the subcontinent and has being a tropical belt and having the nearly 175 agroecological zones in India itself, and that represent almost every part of the world, and used to grow nearly about 4,000 plant species, and 6,000 are used as a food in what is the literature they come across. Out of that, India used to grow nearly about 150 crops are cultivated at a significant scale. And now we are only limited to the wheat and rice and some of maize. And in fact, this supplement with nearly 60% of the world calories coming from these three dominant crops. That shows that how much the diversity lost in the last 30, 40 years. So this is really, we need to bring back to the way we think about the systems, talking from our education systems, for knowledge-driven educations to the program-driven, and that to the cognitive systems, what you're talking about, local intelligence, so that that this is where we are now. The most of our systems and science, everything working around a data-driven systems, moving away from our knowledge-based to the tabulating systems and programming automated era. But still we stuck by a local intelligence cognitive system. That's creative thinking. So our knowledge as education-based systems move away from what is called just knowledge to the cognitive thinking, creative thinking. How individual the brain cells to think about in the creative significance of the changing era. And that move away from that to the cognitive to the conscious systems of era. This is where I saw the sustainability begins. So this, in order to bring that, you have to go back to the future, think about that, how our systems are used to there, how used our lifestyle are there, how consciously we are eating and living, and consequently our consequence in the environment and the vital food systems. So of course, that is in the green revolution. So we are urgencies to meet the yield and calories in order to address the poverty and hunger, so that we are most focused on only the calorie rather than the diversity. This is one of the systems we need to move towards, from the commodity to the compound yield and calorie nutrition, along with wellness and carbon neutral development is a must for our future sustainability. So if you look into the COVID era, our immune systems, in the medical terms, we talk a lot of the immunity, and but where the immunity comes from, and it's our gut biome. Gut biome requires a lot of the diversity of the diet diversity. I go with the reverse, where the diet diversity comes in the crop diversity, farm diversity, immunity. So such the vicious circle of this immunity, health, and the cropping system diets we eat. So this is where we require to consume and right combination of food that are season specific, and way to cook also, because we lost the tradition of the cooking. What food can go what, and what kind of pulses you can eat it, what kind of the vegetables. We're completely lost of that one, because in the modern systems we started growing all the crops everywhere, and we lost the seasonality. So that what used to be in the temperate crops in the temperate time, the cold seasons, now we started growing the tropical belt as well. So that we started eating the watermelon in the winter, and the sweet lemon in the summer, so that it's really the people the last the tradition of the when to eat and what to eat, how to cook that one as well. So the traditional food recipes that link to the way we grow, and this becomes so essential to not only the health of the people but entire system as well. So the other systems we talk about a lot of the nutrition deficiency in the food systems, and I give the carrot examples recently, and now there's so much of the other crop varieties coming up. And in the past, just 50 years ago, one carrot used to supply the nutrient, the same amount of the nutrition that were supplied by the carrots, beta carotene and the vitamin A. Now we need to eat nearly about 10 to 12 carrots. That means most of the food we are producing is the divide of the nutrition. So why that nutrition is lost? Because of the soil is becoming completely dead. So there is no vitality in the soil. And the high microbial activity in the soil, what we call a living soil. So that is what they supplement the soluble nutrition to the mycellular network in the mycorrhiza in the root zone, that can feed into the plants. When you consume that kind of high density nutrition plant, and the fruits and vegetables as much as possible in the raw form and cooked form, and that's really feed into all the nutrition demand in the body. This is where the health of the human beings is so connected to the soil. That's what we call Mother Earth. And in order to bring that soil, you need to do a number of the things. Just giving the analogy of how our the bacteria in our gut biome, in our intestine, and feeding, it is the fiber of the millets eaten by the bacteria, that shows that how much is the fiber fuel diet is become essential. And we often think that we are human being, me, no, it is wrong, because of the gut biome, like a bacteria germ, they are outnumber ourselves 1:10. That means 10 the germs is there, our own cell is 1. That means we are completely made of the germ. That means we need to consume so much of the fermented and diet diversity. And in the diet in the present world, we required, in order to be healthy, we required 400 elements of the food per month. That means in a month, we should be eating the 400 different types of the foods, plants, vegetables, and all the nuts together. Look into our traditional Israeli diets. Even we are eating just a roti and dal but there is a lot of the chutneys and pickles, and then there's sides like a lot of vegetables, onions, and the raw vegetables, and a lot of the greeny leaf which will go as a salad. So that really are so much of the diet diversity we are arranging. Elements of the food go into the food system. That's what we are so used to be the healthy before we started eliminating our healthy diet systems. This is the other things we talk a lot about the consequences of the wrong diets and that influencing our mood and anxiety, our behavior, and neurological disorders and stress and anxiety. Often we think about it's connected to our gut. That's why I call it a gut biome. And often we think about this one like, yeah, I want to do something very important work. We talk about my gut feeling. We never say my brain feeling. So that's clearly shows that how our gut is so important. The gut is connected to the brain, the way we think, way we live. Just you can try yourself, shift to the healthy diets, especially the pulses and millets for a month or so. Then whatever you're facing about the sleep disorder or anxiety and mood swing, that's very common in the urban people. They used to be happy in a moment, then again used to be very cranky or upset in another moment. That's what we call a mood swing and brain fog. And that's also linked to the food we eat. Just changing the food diets, that's going to completely become so calm and the healthy. When the calm mind and peaceful mind, that's where the world start begin towards the peaceful world. So without this, how the diet is really influencing that. Why you cannot bring the peace on the dead animal on the plate? Impossible. So this is where we talk about the diets of the balance for happiness and resilience. And resilience cannot be linked without bringing the happiness in the way we eat and consume. And often the wrong happiness with the high, the fat and the fried and the dead food you're consuming, that's very short-lived. But if you look into the diet diverse food, that's how that's the vitality, the strength of the food and our behavior is going to change. This is where I talk about the food vitality and nutrition. Just to give you an example, there's hundreds of examples can bring in that. And look at this, the word vitality. In the ancient time, look at across the world, not only I'm talking about India, from the Middle East to the Mayan culture in the Americas to here in Europe. And you think about it's called a vitality, pranic value of the food, what you call a sattvic food. And the prana in the food is such a vital in terms of gaining our nutrition demand. So the most produce losses nearly 30% nutrient after the 3 days of the harvest. Look into the city market, how many people they're consuming the same day of the food harvested. The California Institute of Technology, they show that vegetables can lose up to 55% of the vitamin C soon after they harvested. I take example of palak, what you call spinach, can lose up to 90% of the within the first 24 hours of after the harvest. So that means food we should be eating nearest locally and harvested the same day. Luckily, in the rural villages, I'm just roaming around like since I came to India since a month ago. I visited several few of this local market. It's very clearly showing that the people still have access to the local food. They bring the fresh food in the market. But the sad story about that one, most of that food is the chemical sprayed. They're grown chemically. So that even you're getting the fresh food, but they're chemically the grown. So in order to reduce this food and loss of nutrition and how the fruits and vegetables become less nutritious, how the dirt poor, that the dead soil is really impact on that one. So this is what we call in the proverb, Kasa tinudikinta tusu tinudalesu. Why eating the junk food so much, still hungry and still not able to meet our nutritional demand and health demand. So better to eat less but good food than the more junk food. So this giving simple analogy here, and the food wastage. I'm not talking about the food losses, the food wastage and the food nutrition. Who wastes the most food? If you look in the close, the circle of the entire, the 100% of the food production happens in the farm to the consumer plate, and 20% of the productions, the losses. That means while harvesting or while growing, some of the food is the last. That's just contribute 20%. And if we are, this 20% are not bothered about. While thrashing harvesting the crop in the field are growing, some animals might have eaten, some birds might have eaten, and even spilled on the harvesting, that's still good for the people, sorry, good for the animals and nature, because they eat the raw food that's required for the most of the species. Also during distribution, still is uncooked, and something you lost during distribution still is go to the nature and feed the wild, the creatures. But what is the most striking is a food wasted on our plate. It's mostly in the urban elites, the rich people, and the people access to a lot of the food, or even they not have the value of the food. When it subsidize the food so heavily, for example, rice, and amount of the rice that the wheat is wasted because of the people think that's just like getting 1 rupees a kg, they won't bother about it. So this is what is happening really. The processed food wasting is really bad. Why it's bad? Because of it's not able to go back to the where the animals and birds and other people, other animals and creatures can eat, because consumed you have spoiled complete nutrients that go for the complete landfilling. So the food waste on the table by the urban elites is the worst impact on the planetary health. We talk about the IPCC impact on the anthropogeny, impact on the climate, and often we not think about that how much the people go hungry, but simultaneously how much we're wasting. So this is where I started this urban the garden the concept for all the elite people. And if everyone grow at least one edible plant, may help understand the value of the food and the value of the farmers putting effort to grow that food. So I guess that will wake up the slumbered consciousness and reduce the food waste. So I come across one of the climate smart agriculture, and people talk about how to climate smart agriculture. My question to them is, please go back and grow one tomato, come back after 3 months, let me share your result. And out of the most people that fail to grow a single tomato, then we talk about the climate smart agriculture. We have to understand what is the ground realities, how food is grown, how farmers is really thriving. And it's not a problem of growing the food, but how consumers demand. The consumer demanding very nice looking food and uniformity, same color. This is what really the farmers force them to use the chemicals. Because of the naturally grown food, there is a cycle of the nature. It's sharing and caring. So always there is some insect taking your plant, because of this plant is not just for only for us. Fruit and vegetable not only for human beings, it's for entire nature. So, but the bite of the insect, they eat in the vegetable, get rejected by the supermarket. And there's no option left for the farmers to spray the chemicals. And this is what really happening, that we need to change the behavior of the looking into how the organic food, like how the food grow naturally. That's real. So that we have to move from the brain fog of eating the wrong food and switching to the healthy and local and seasonal food can reduce the food wastage and our carbon footprint, although the improving our health and connected with the nature. So other things, as the same thing I explained in the previous slide, and food choices and the loss of the nutrition is transferred in the pathway. And just looking at if the home garden are growing something and the nearly, you hardly lose anything because of just pick up some of the leaf and you eat in the home. Morning and have the same day, if you eat that one, so still you will not lose the nutrition. But started into the like a long distance of travel, like
Yes, Dr. Biradar, you have some network problem. Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar, you have some network problem.
Sir, wait, sir. I'll call and communicate him, sir.
Yeah, just to communicate.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
hello.
Yeah, yes. Now it is clear. We are hearing you. Yeah, there's some network problem, I think. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So can you hear me now?
We are hearing you, but your slide, yes, slide has come. Thank you. Thank you. Carry on.
Slide has come. So this is where we really need to move towards the local system, local seasonal food, and move away from the processed food to the raw and healthy vegetables. It's not just only the nutrition side of the framework, but how it's impacting the environment. The packaging, the food coming into the lot of the plastic. You look in the order of the food. I'm not going to mention those the commercial companies they're supplying the food. Most of them supply the food in the plastic, hard food in the plastic. They link into how much that is the pollution is added to your food. And after the post-food events, you are throwing into the environment. So this is really consequent the food we are talking about. And also looking about the food diversity. So I mentioned about looking at the fruits and vegetables, and that's basically water and chemical guzzling the common varieties to move to the nutri-rich crops. So this is what we've been in the colonial times. We introduced a lot of the temperate fruits tree as a vegetable and started treating our indigenous vegetables as a weeds. So we had to move away from that one. We had to bring this indigenous knowledge, indigenous food system. So much of the variety. This is I'm talking about just in the dryland crop in the farm. We think about how much dryland crop you can grow. That's even uncommon to the most of the citizen people and cities what the urban living people. Where they take it to the Golipalle, what you call Hattariki and Golipalle or like a drumstick. And there's hundreds of the vegetables. If I grow into the natural grown farming, I can identify that's such a high value in the nutritional level. Not only nutrition, but diversity in general and climate system. So also moving back to the indigenous the food systems. But take just giving the analogy of here is the sorghum and horse gram. Those are the two dominant crops in the Bijapur in this the Deccan Plateau, along with other millets. But these two combination of the so much of the variety of the sorghums, we lost the germplasms. Nearly used to grow about 30 types of the sorghums in every season. For the each sorghum used for the different purposes. You have to make rotis different. You make the buddhi is different. We can make a kadu or sweets is different. So, but we are not lost all the things. Yesterday we passed the Nagar Panchami. This particular the sorghum used to make the pop rice, pops sorghum, what you call allu. So that you lost that variety. Now it is completely the different one. So same thing happened with the horse gram. So that's what you call the hurule. It used to be nearly about 62 varieties of the horse gram. We lost all of them. So we're just left with a couple of the hybrid. So that nutrition value of the horse gram is so high that it is 3 times more than whatever the plant, the animal-based protein you can eat, but it's so resilient to the different climate systems. Yeah, and the crops they grow in the dry areas, even the most desertic conditions they can grow because of the horse gram has a capacity to observe the atmospheric, the humidity, and they suck that one, they send back to the ground. That's why you always grow the combination of the horse grams with sorghum, sorry, bajras, and tur and the thistle seeds, so that they are interactive systems. They become so resilient to grow the crops. And even despite whatever harsh condition of the drought, but we never fail the growing the moth beans, what you call matigi and huruli and the tur, and these things used to come up. We grow this combination of the crop, what is the traditional the systems, we hardly face any drought conditions. And these are such a wonderful system. We have lost, we have to bring it back, that one. Also, if I go into the individual, like the thistle seed itself, what you call carel, now such a huge the value for the nasal seeds, but they used to grow at the borders of the agriculture field as a trap crop. They provide the shelter for the birds. They can perch on that because if they start the flowering in the beginning of the season to end of the cropping seasons, the throughout supply of the nutrition to the birds, that's birds really become a integrated pest management for the farming system. So if you just take one simple or dryland crop systems, it is so nourishing to the soil, animals, and people, and the climate resilient. We talk about the climate resilient, but to look into that when I traveled in the last 1 month, hardly see there anyone growing these traditional crops anymore in the Kharif season. So this is where really the joy of the growing is the basis of cultivating the healthy eating and sustainable living. And we often think about parents complain to me that, oh, my children are not eating vegetables, not eating the fruits, because of we don't know how to grow the food with them. And you start consuming yourself that one. So that's really the basis of that one. Even children, they grow a part of the garden in the home, along with the families, cultivate the habit of growing the food with them. They understand how the nature they connected. This is the biggest educations we need. So children know that how the plants grow, where the food comes. When I was surprised in America, in Europe, or even in the urban cities, ask the children where food is coming. They said it's from supermarket. Where the milk is coming, it's from the Walmart. That's such the change. Even in America, sometimes I ask where the chocolate base comes from. It's called the brown cows. This is the way that we disconnected our children from the nature. And this is what I always tell that connect with the nature, be a responsible citizen. It really begins in the home. The best investment parents can do for their children is taking them to the nature. And if you just take them to the nature in the weekend, rather than spending in the movie and the theater, in front of the TV and sitting at home, just taking what they're doing in the club, they're doing it in Bijapur, whether they're doing the ecosystem restorations or cycling, and just the habit of taking the children with them to the nature. So this is where really, even taking the farm, like in weekend, we used to go on the farm. So just exposure to nature, the kids are so curious. They understand what's happening in the nature, how they connect So this is really we need to be understand. And often I see come across in urban cities like I not have a space to grow the food or something like that. You can also you can start small garden, the nutri garden concept, nutri concept. So really the helping and sharing, caring of the nature. In 8 square feet of the garden, just 8 square feet of garden, I can grow enough food to the feed a family. So much of diversity of the food. My daughter eating about 7 types of the rainbow carrots just to grow in the small pot. I'm nearly about several varieties of tomatoes growing in the different layer of the food, one from the ground to the middle story, the top story. We have to use the multi-layer farming concept. So there's so much of the land is not a limited. Often people think that we're not a limited land, we're not able to go, we have to expand those things, all things. But no, it's not limited. We don't know how to grow the food properly. This is one thing we need to understand very well. So this always in America, people think that I don't have time to go to nature. I always think that, okay, then bring the nature to your home and bring the park in your cities, go to the school garden, build a community garden, bring the nature where you are living, whether your kitchen garden, whether it's a rooftop, your balcony, your bedroom, everywhere there's a place to put the plant. When you put the huge amount of the infrastructure in terms of the TVs or furniture, so much of the useless, the decorative items, why can't you bring that living decorations, the plant in your living space? And this is where I started this concept of the gardening is not just only to feed the people, not rather better eat the people, live consciously. And just we talk about a lot of this happiness chemicals. I'm sure that a lot of the doctors and here in this the seminar in the lecture, they also understand that also how the happiness chemicals, whether the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphin, and just to the connecting with the nature, connecting the plants, so that increase our feel good hormones. And this also reduces the cortisol. That's like a stress hormone. Just expose it to the nature. Come from the office, sit next to the plant, put your hand on the plant and a sip of the coffee. It reduces your nearly 50% of the cortisol. That is a stress hormone. So this is what we think to build in the urban cities and connect to the nature. And see, look at our cities in the top of our what we call a garden city of the India. And what it looks really, it is like most of the rooftop in the world, look at anywhere in the world, nothing is growing. This became a trash site. They're putting the dumping on the rooftops. And look in the way, rather this is from in the Middle East or somewhere in the Morocco, everywhere you can look into that. So a lot of the what you call the this of the TVs and trashes on the roof, it's sitting there. But can you turn that into the living cities? I heard about a lot of when it comes to India and looking at all over the world, the future smart cities. They talk about smart cities, but the what you call sad things to know about the smart cities. They're thinking about just building the other infrastructure, concrete jungles, impervious the layers where even surface what rainfall water they're not even percolating to the soil. They're subsurface. That's why most of the cities like the flood, the affected when the small rain comes. And also we closed all the channels, everything, so that if we turn every city, the space you can look from the satellite, if it looks like green in the background, I'm talking about in the Arizona in the US, there's so much of even the arid climate also, there is the concept of growing the system and benefits of edible landscape in the urban area, that's very, very vital. Nowadays, I see that a lot of the plantation activities going there. There's in the past, early they're going exotic species coming from the different places. They're not even producing any fruits or anything. They're now I advise to every plantation activity in urban, move to your fruit garden, bring something that can edible, something people sitting in the cities are like people they can beggars, they can have at least the fruits can eat. And the one you have the edible landscape in the cities that can attract a lot of the birds. You go in the morning walk, you can see the chirping of the birds, and you want to attract the wildlife animals to that one. This is very, very essential, that one. From the food and nutrition to wellness of the cities, a living lungs of the cities. I also started the concept, it's called a green gold. Green gold, basically, I see a lot of the urban areas, people, the rich people buy the land, acquire the properties, acquire the plots, but they leave it just abandoned. A healthy growing environment, because the cities always build on the healthy, the river side and the bank sides and the river bank side where water sources are there. That means that healthy, the living, the soil was there, and we're occupying that healthy soil into the urban landscape, building the concrete jungles. Why not you can turn that into the edible landscape, so that can provide the not only healthy food, but healthy environment. You can, whatever the plot you have, just fence it and put about 50 types of the fruit trees there. Whenever you can build the area, you can transfer the plants, you can sell them into the very heavy price because of the trees, you can sell into the higher prices. So that don't leave any space in the cities empty. This is what the most of the urban landscape and the green group started coming up and started doing this work. They had to move into every city, every villages. Not a single barren land left in the world. That's where our sustainable development we can reach from the cities. Same thing will go into the mainstream farming because we are going monocropping, but you have to bring the more trees, especially the edible fruit trees and herbs, condiments, fruits, nuts, that into the mainstream farming. So it increase the diversity of the landscape. This is where the healthy ecosystems is become. I'm giving the example of my own farm. It used to be completely barren, they destroyed because it went through the modern agricultural systems. And now just in the 3 years, we replenished the most of this urban landscape, our farming landscape. So regreening and restoring the broken food systems with agroecological principles, bringing the diversity in the farming systems. And even that's when growing the plantation, for example, they're doing the Bhutan, the example to the ecosystem restoration camp, they see the diversity of the species increasing that one. Adding a few fruit tree species like the traditional fig species like a ficus species, they attract a lot of the birds, they bring a lot of diversity into those landscape. And over the years, that became a diverse food systems. This is what then also they become a source of the groundwaters. When they increase the tree cover in the farming systems, that increase our groundwater table. And this is where we can address the water crisis as well. So that we have to move away from degenerative, that's degraded landscape, to regenerative food systems. And you can watch the Kiss the Ground, the movie. There's a lot of our known colleagues in the movie talk about the system. In the left, the green landscape, what used to be there about 400 years ago, the Indian landscape in the most of the everywhere in the world. And the Fertile Crescent you talk about in the Middle East, where most of the crops came. So they became degraded in the few centuries. So where the cradle of civilization started, it used to supply the food, all the modern, what you call eat the food now, from whether wheat, barley, chickpea to those, the apple. It's originated in the Fertile Crescent. Now that became the food deprived landscape in the world. They import 90% of the food because of our unsustainable land management practices, our human-centric rather than the nature-centric, but you have to reverse this one. So we tell that you are all the tipping point, but for my experience, looking at all the landscape and looking at globally, all the dry areas, I look at small patches here and there from satellite. I look into what are those green patches. Then I went to there. Then I said, those are the natural farming practice. Still, some people, as the tribes and the indigenous people, some smart farmers, still practicing regenerative agriculture. Those are still thriving the green despite of the drought. So this is what we need to go back. So the solutions are plenty, but yes, require the collective actions from the policy to farming level. And another example I'm giving that one, what is the consequences of the degenerative agriculture? So any small water or the rainfall in the monsoon area, whenever it comes, because usually comes in the July and August to India, where our Western, the British schools and American schools holidays, that is the monsoon season start in India. So we come here, then I saw the lot of the flood events. And it's recent, like when I arrived here, there a lot of flood in the Kolhapur, those Krishna River basins. And I see that very clearly observe that one in the Kolhapur, like all this, because of the dead soil, there is no soil organic carbon in the soil, and there is no vegetation covered on the soil and agriculture and in landscape from a city to farming systems. And any one small flash of the rain, and that's wash out all the water and surface runoff. And because of this quick surface runoff without any water holding capacity of the farming systems, that drain the water to the cities and they submerge. And also our reservoir capacity nearly about 50% of the capacity because of the siltations. Why it's happening that one? Then when rain comes, our reservoir fills within 1 or 2 rains, and then the subsequent rain, all the waters go away. Then there is no water holding capacity in the soil. Then in the summer, reservoir capacity finishes. They cannot hold the water because of there is the limit of the reservoir capacity. They have to open the gates during the rainy seasons, and because of that, then subsequent drought, and then river reservoir capacity also gone. This is what regards, just looking at the river, the flowing, one side is the degraded landscape, There's all the water flowing with the dirt and everything. Other side is the tree cover. We can get clean water flowing. What is required given our landscape, our urban landscape? The water should flow from our any landscape, whether the house, whether it is a urban landscape, it's a park or schools to the farms. It should be clean water flowing to the streams. When our streams started flowing crystal clear water, then we think that we are sustainable land management practices. Until we see the muddy water flowing to our streams, we think about that we are not yet reached that stage. So in order to reach that stage, we have to cover soil. We have to bring the more tree covers and the sustainable land management practices into our agriculture practices. This is where we think about the return to the functional ecosystems. So this required a understanding our nutritions, nutri-garden to the natural farming, and bridging the health gap with changing diets. And we think about always the too much of the divide between the rural and urban, and how best you can bring the periphery connected between these two things. How our food miles, reducing the food miles. I see very surprised the other day, I see the apple from America in my rural villages. It's so surprising for me. And here we go, the guava, local, the CBA, that is high nutrition than the apple for this climate. And that's so high diabetic, like a relief if you eat just consuming the guava, locally grown guava. And you can check it after taking 1 or 2 days, the blood sugar level drop drastically. If you consume for a month, basically you are away from that. So this is really, really like a pathetic condition. So food travel from the New Zealand kiwi to American apple, reaching the rural areas. And this is what should be the like food miles, amount of the carbon footprint that would travel such a long distances. And rivers were sending our the sugars and the rice basically we're exporting. This rice is accounted nearly the entire the Krishna River exporting. If you account the sugar and rice together with all the what's called consume, we're exporting entire Ganges River into the outside. But you're importing a very dryland crops. How we can balance the system? Of course, export and import is very necessary for economic development. An unsustainable cost, you do not need to do that one. What the particular landscape and grow ecologically, the fit for that, what's called niche crops, they can grow in that particular regions, they're where they're fit for growing, they can export that one. That's what in ancient times they used to grow the spices and the ghee to the rest of the world, and you bring the other crop they're growing. But we are not doing the other way. So that's what we required, a changing the impact and the climate level and the impact that one. So really, so I think I'm not sure how much is time left. Then I'm going to finish it quickly. And functional stacking is the very key for sustainable development. And then traditional crops where the taste and flavor originates, we need to bring back that one. And that's where we lost going with all the traditional food systems and tribes and the indigenous people or grandparents. So instead of going to the asking some modern people nutrition, go to ask that the grandma, what you used to eat? Is that my fit for me? So just that simple thumb rule, they can change the diet pattern. And this transformations is required from the small landscape, whether we're urban landscape or acre by acre, into the complex systems of the urban landscape. So this time I did a quite small experiment as my own curiosity in my backyard in the US. And I was surprised that when even find a square root of feed that can feed 10 families, then enough to donate to the local food banks. And that to very high quality, where when I went to the supermarket, like organic market, buy one capsicum, so I used to pay $1, and the same $1 I can buy a pound of the meat. I couldn't understood the logic of this one. How can be the meat is cheaper than the capsicum, meat cheaper than the carrot? Then look at the subsidies going to the meat industries. That's so high, but the organic productions is so much suppressed, and there is no things up. Even I can grow the food in the chemically dredged conditions, I can sell without certifications. But if I want to grow sell the organic, I need certifications. This is the world we are living in. How best you can change this one? Even like when I had the diabetic one, because of initially stage when I was in America eating a lot of this the modern food systems, then I went to the diabetic, and that then I understood that why diabetic is my reasons. Then this food habits. I started growing my own vegetables in my backyard. Within 6 months, I became out of the diabetic and completely health with the system restored. Then I started even small things you can change your backyard. you can change your entire system. That's what I put the BG of the people in our colleagues to start growing the organic garden in the backyard. That's where it started spreading. And how much you can grow in the food, it's so high diversity. I have grown nearly over 237 types of vegetable, fruits, flowers, and herbs in my backyard. You won't believe that, 63 types of tomatoes with different flavor, taste, and colors and hues. And because of we are pickling tomato different, we're making chutney is different, we are making the pasta is different, we are eating raw is different, eating fresh is different, eating jam is different. But you lost all of that one. Now we're just eating hybrid one varieties and that bred for the perishability rather than the taste. So the same thing goes into the number of other vegetables we grow. I just talking about one in backyard, 500 square feet, multi-layer gardening, how much you can grow. Why can't we grow on the so much of the land we have in the world? So we should move from the food wisdom and the capitalisms. If we cut that food in the nice and process them, we think that there's a healthy food rather than often we think that, oh, ugly looking the Indian food, but there is so much nutrition dressed into that one. How we can change from our capitalist-centric the development into the nutrition, eco-friendly habitats, how best you can, our diet's going to play the vital role. So that's one like the whole food forest, the edible landscape. This was just giving the example of our backyard sitting next to me here in this house, and 60 by 40 square feet of that area, growing 50 types of the fruits and vegetables, and that can feed so much of the food. Think about that. We have 365 square the million square kilometer of the land, and out of that 90% is agricultural land. Even you can bring 10% of this the agrobiodiversity into the farming systems, we can address the climate change impact in just shifting to this the nature-based solutions. And again, I'm talking about the multi-layers. I'm not just again, this is an example. I mimic what used to be in the nature, what is in the forest. I mimic that into during the COVID situations to let the people grow this kind of multi-layer farming in the backyard. And often this just simple 8 square feet box, we can grow 50 types of the green vegetables. You can harvest within the 20 days throughout the year. My kids grow in the morning and pick up the little few greens vegetable, make their own burgers or the salad ball. This is the rich of nutrition. Just eat one time. We not require food for an entire day. That's what the nutritious food is talk about. Because we're eating junk food, that's why we keep on hungry for every 2 hours, because of the brain, they look for the vitality, but we are not supplying vitality, just look the calories, because the cells require the vital nutrients to jump and happy, and this one. That's what required our happy vitality of the food in the nutrients, so that when you have the nutrition food in our body cells, and they're not going to trigger the hunger signal in your brain to eat again. So that we eat just two meals. We eat the morning breakfast in the evening. It not require anything if we eat a healthy meal. Otherwise, you are keep on eating every 2 hours. That's what we are wasting more food by consuming more food. And the nutrition you observe a little, the rest go to your manure. So this is what we need to bring. So I just give you an example: desert. And when it came from the desert landscape to the dryland areas, here 500 millimeter rainfall. I think the people talk about sir, is a drought and so those things. I thought 500 millimeter build a healthy landscape. You are not required any irrigations. You grow the 3 crops throughout the year. So this is what species, no limitations, but going the healthy diets and diversity. We can grow even like a walls, windows, balcony, terrace, rooftop, front yard, backyard, tabletop, shelves, even small things. Like I see that people, even the offices, Prime Minister office, they're putting a small edible landscape there like that. So that nearly just, I'm talking about a subcontinent, over 25 million hectares of the crop fallows after the one crop is harvested, 25 million hectares. Think about that. You can bring it to food. We're full sufficient growing the additional crop. I bought this concept because when I taught this home gardening concept, a lot of people come back to me and say, I don't have space. Where are you living? I said, I'm living in the house. If you have the bed to sleep, you can grow yourself the food as well, at least a few greens. So this is what I started. And also this one, I traveled in the rural India. I see this is a very common picture I used to see. And later the Swachh Bharat initiative, they bring this the soak pit. Often they design the soak pit into the not sustainable way, just to make the soak pit and teach the people to use the chemical-free washes and the bath soaps, everything. So organic soap used to use in the past, like acids and cow dung based the washing chemicals, chemical-free the utilities, and just simple that one you are using this water and turn into the soak pit. And traditionally, first of all, you sow rice site in the villages. and that go to soak pit. And around the soak pit, you grow just like our local one papaya, one banana, and one drumstick, one the curry leaf, and some vegetables and some creepers. They go under the roof of your house. 7 the creepers. You can provide the 1 vegetable per week in even this soak pit garden. That creeper cover your house, reduce your the heat impact in the summer, and keep you warm in the winter, so that you reduce the energy cost for the fan or AC cost. So while producing the weekly supply of the vegetables, simple concept, it used to be there, but people will forget about a simple how grey water management. Nothing can be bigger than this one. So take this concept into, like, now that Kerala, there's a couple of the municipality, they come to me that, sir, can adopt this one. Of course, this is knowledge for free sharing. Go ahead and do it. They started bringing this one. Now we're building the toilets. Every cities and every villages can turn that toilet into a sustainable living. Can turn that into a beautiful garden where people even hate to go there. Now that's become a go and they put your chair on the top of this small pit. You can enjoy the nature around harvesting the food, beautiful fruits. So that's what you started in this one, that you have to bring that in the same culture. Talking about this West Bengal, and where the Das sir is also coming from that, and Odisha. And this concept is that one, there is the homestead garden, and there's a small pond for fish and growing vegetables, some fruits and everything going around. Just 1/10 of their landscape. Use that one for producing food yourself. And this is what we really require, the systemic approaches. Turn our dry lands into the green by ecological sustainable option. This is what we started doing a lot of this assessment for the machine learning and satellite, understand where that can be go particular crops, and cross-specific increasing the vitality, and bring that one that leads to the food system transformations, and closing the yield gap, water use efficiency gap, input gap, income gap, health gap, and ecological gap. Just adopting the sustainable agricultural practices. I not want to go these details because it's quite. I come to the remote sensing, GIS, machine learning, and citizen science. And this is what a simple example I'm giving here. A cotton crop, you can grow nearly about 6 to 7 vegetables in the same cotton, the infrastructure, same drip line. You can produce the every month there's 1 vegetable, because of the different vegetable growing the cotton, and reduce the pesticide using the cotton, completely eliminated your pink ball worm. That's one of the biggest that require nearly 6 to 7 times the sprays. You are reducing the spray, you are reducing the labor to spray, you're reducing the chemicals in the environment, and your health impact, and producing the monthly income for first 6 months. This is what requires doubling the farmer, a year of 8 times more income, and you're reducing the input cost in the agriculture. Move away from the commodity-based single productivity to the compound productivity. That's what used to be our systems. Move to ecological approaches. You can treat. Often you treat a weed is the bad, weed is the fertilizer, weed is the best for the landscape, covering the landscape, moving away from conventional system, the bad, and keeping everything clean. So they have to move to the ecological approaches. So regenerative agroecosystems where the nutritious food to feed the family, for farmers, and producing the premium quality produced to the cell. If we address the both together, then only we have to rebuild what is the Gandhiji thought about Rama Rajya and Rama Swarajya. This is where we have to start from the rural economy, and he's talking about the Azadi Amrit Mahatsav 75 years. It has been done since beginning of the independence. We never faced anything by so. Still, this time is not limited because of our history of the 16,000 years of civilizations. We survived without any question of the food and the climate impact up to 16th centuries. We started deteriorating only when adopted this our reckless way of growing the food and cultivating. So still we have the chance to go back to nature, nourish our soil, and build our systems, and let our food become our home pharmacy. And future of the healthcare system should be our way we grow the farm and landscape connected to nature. Live in harmony with the nature, coexistence with the nature. We should tell the kids, children, our new generations they treat every animal as humble. They are their friend. They are the gods. They say that you should be humble because of the animals are the great sense of your harmony. If you have no anxiety, you are happy, you are meditative mind, all the animals comes to you without any questions. I tested this principle so many times, and even go to the wild area, I can sit there just to meditative mind, so harmony with nature. All the nice animals coming, staying around you without any fear. I just yesterday was thinking there one example. I was sitting in the farm. A couple of the wild birds, they came just sitting next without any fear. So this should be our what's called a conscious mind, And when you're consciously living and treat every street dog to the cats to the birds without any harm into your nature, that's where the harmony in nature means. So it will be sustainable living. So this is where we need to move into that, the farm specific advisories and sustainable living, transfer our living labs for the science into the mainstream farming and move away from the dry areas, the green areas. And this is what I'm talking about, diverse choices of the food. It's a great flavor, taste, and nutrition. This is how the consumer is going to impact. That's really going to change our climate and bring back to the health for everything, the people, animals, soil, and the climate. I think with this one, I'm going to conclude. I'm not sure this time is nearly 12:30 now. And the visions, my vision for 30-30-30, that's a sustainable goal. He talk about by currently, I'm still the very the optimistic of the world, currently consume less than 10%. We bring the more fruits, vegetables, nuts, and raw form of the food in our plate. At least 30% of the world populations should have the 30% of their plate should consist of this. This is the kind of fruits and vegetables. I think this is the beginning of our change in the landscape and sustainable goal. And we reach by 2050, reach to 50%. I think that is we can reverse our landscape back to what it used to be in the 1,000 years ago. So there is no question of sustainable landscape is existing. It's there. I can skip this slide. Basically, going back to the sustainable living, production follows functions. If we restore our functional production systems, we can address our health and climate and planetary health. Thank you very much. I'm sure I took more time than the required. Excuse me for that.
Good afternoon. We have listened to a very scholarly and illuminating talk on changing diets, diversity, consumerism, and climate, awakening consciousness in citizen science for system level transformation for healthy people and the planet by distinguished expert Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar. Dr. Biradar, your talk started with a quote about Gandhian diet, which contains 60% of raw fruits and vegetables. Really, it is alarming situation to know that now Indian diet contains only 2% fruits and vegetables. And you also spoke about comparison of water footprint of roti, chicken, and mutton. In fact, COVID-19 has made us to go for diverse food diet. Now it is necessary to think away from yield-centric to nutrition-centric. And you told us that you grew 237 varieties of vegetables, fruits, and flowers. It's really amazing. And most of us should follow your advice. And the tagline that I liked the most in your talk was belly full, hungry cells, and bring nature to the home. Really, at this juncture, it's necessary to bring nature to the home, and we should go for more of vegetables and fruits rather than staple diet alone. And now I, on behalf of KSTA, BNB University, UNESCO, and other associated institutions, I thank you immensely for this very illuminating and enlightening talk. Now I request the panelists for their views on this topic. Before that, let me have the privilege of asking a question myself first. Sir, Dr. Biradar, according to IPCC 6th report, it is expected that 1.5 degrees centigrade global warming will be there. Because of because of this, there will be dry places becoming drier and wet places becoming wetter. In this situation, is it not difficult to shift to nutrition-centric diet from yield-centric diet?
Yes, I think thank you, Dr. Ramesh, for the fantastic summary and highlighting the few of the things we talked. And certainly, when you look into the even ecosystem assessment, like Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, they clearly told that dry areas become drier and wet areas become wetter. I also thought that one that's very pertinent, because of why it's dry area becoming drier, because there is no vegetation cover. The albedo is so high, so that leads to even the clouds passing all over the world, but you not have the cooling condition to bring the cloud down. So that when I look this into the again, when I went to the dry areas, I see some of the landscape is thriving, and though have the trees and the diverse crops, and still they are thriving the microclimatic zone. And I think that within the dry area still is something is greening up. That means something can be done. Only thing is they have to extrapolate what has been. Those are pockets of the microclimate sitting everywhere. We can expand that into the entire dry areas. Yield centric to the nutrition centric, that automatically brings the more diversity, and cover the soil. That means doesn't matter what you are covering. The earth is now naked, especially dry area of the world. It's a naked. Nothing is there on the surface. It is the surface albedo that is pushing the clouds away. Take it from the Sinai mountains in the Egypt to the dry part of the entire world, even like in Bijapur areas. I just look back into about the 600 back into the history, and those used to be very thick forest, used to be very green in the landscape. How it destroyed the unsustainable cleaning of the tree cover, and the modern agriculture systems, you also remove 80% of the tree cover in the farming systems. Because of that surface albedos, that leads to the more warmer. If you bring just covering this landscape and changing the diets, this is what I'm telling about, changing the diets and consumer and demand for that more diversity, that push our landscape going to the greener again. I'm sure that reduces the albedo and reduces the temperature. So that still I hope, because the only thing is that the business as usual is not going to play. We have to be changing our diets. It still sits from the demand side. Demand is there for the good food, and farmers certainly sit into that side. This is what requires the consumer need to be changed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Biradar, for this very scholastic and enlightening talk. Now, may I request all the panelists for their words. First, Dr. Kushal Das, sir, please take over.
Yeah, I just thank you very much, Dr. A.M. Ramesh, for chairing the session. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Chandrasekhar, for brilliance. It is a wonderful talk, and no doubt about that, we are enriched. And I think from the medical point of view, we are greatly inspired by your talk and its demarcation. So I request Dr. Arvi Kulkarni, the moderator of today's program, that you please make the first thing that anybody asks the question, keep it restricted for 5 to 6 minutes, and then you go for the panel discussion. Directly, the 4 panelists are waiting for that. So that will be good. And before that, we'll be giving the certificate of honor to Professor Dr. Chandrasekhar and also Dr. A.M. Ramesh, both.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ramesh, sir, for your remarks on the session. Now the session is open for a discussion. 1 or 2 questions will be taken because of the time constraint. The session is open for discussion now. Participants can put forth 1 or 2 questions, or else they can drop in the chat box also, that can be taken.
Can I ask a question, please?
Please, sir, please.
Oh, yes, Dr. Subrata.
You introduce yourself.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. I am Dr. Subrata Nandi from IIRS ISRO Dehradun. Chandru sir, thank you for this wonderful lecture.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, sir, I have a small question regarding this. In response to this pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, there will be government plans for economic recovery. How do this nature-based solution come in the picture in response to this? Whether these will be taken care of at all, and if this has to be taken care of while economic recovery, how it should be taken care of?
I think thanks for this the intricate questions you asked, Subrata, being from the IRS, my alumni. I'm proud of being from IRS ISRO. And the one thing is the very clear that the inclusive systems, we talk about it. And if you look at the economic recovery, if you again keep the ecology left behind, we are going to have the subsequent consequences more frequent than it used to be in the past. Just take into the drought and flood. we are more frequency, the amount of the rainfall we're receiving is even more or less the same, not even change. In fact, it's increased in the look into the subcontinent. But thing is the distributions and frequency, and that is impacted because of we lost quite a bit of this green cover. So that having said that, that is really the impacted by our diet systems in the green revolutions era. So we have to move away from the Ashira Kranti to the Ahara Kranti. So we have to move into that directions. When you're designing into the recovery of the post-COVID landscape, when it's very hard to say the post-COVID because of this is going to be frequently. When virus comes here, stay with us forever. It's not going to be the post-COVID. So it is the like a more vulnerable era, I can say. And in order to address this economic, all the development is talking about, if you bring the ecology in every economic prospect, I think so they can reduce this like a multi-pronged approach. We can look at one side is the restoring the health of the people and the health of the landscapes. Other side is how economic return in terms of that coming in. For I take example of natural farming, what I call it a Sahaja Kruti and Prakruti, this is Kruti, the Krushi. And if you bring this, the farmer, the based economical restorations, where people can reduce their input cost in terms of the seeds and fertilizers and move towards the nature-based solutions. So that's one-time economic inputs to the farmers one side and bring in the healthy foods to the consumers other side. So that is the double impact of the restorations. That's the only way. If we think in the policy level, combining ecology, economy, policy level changes and bring the education institutions into the what's called capacity building. So together, this what they call the points, I think that's the way to go.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Any more questions from the?
Could I put some comment, please?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Dr. Biradar?
Yes, sir.
I don't see the question, but I just wanted to put some comments, if I may, please.
I think Professor Hamid, we will do it as a panel discussion in general. Let the public questions be over. Then you four are there to ask a lot of questions to Dr. Chandrasekhar, and also I will be joining along with the moderator, Dr. Arvi Kulkarni. So that was going in a more right way. So if any other people
take any questions.
Yeah, if you can ask any question from outside of the panel, please ask. Please ask.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon, all of you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Dr. Arun.
Am I audible? Okay,
Yes,
I am Professor Arun Kumar from GB Pant University of Agricultural Technology, Pantnagar, Uttarakhand. And thank you, Professor Biradar, for a very nice presentation. I consider him as a man of ecology, agroecologist. I have had an opportunity to hear him before also. I have one short question for him. Like we talk of traditional crops, we talk of traditional foods. Is there any strategy or program at international level or from the governments for preserving or promoting traditional foods or crops?
Yeah, thanks, Professor Arun, for that questions. I think this is the recent past. We started working on this indigenous knowledge traditional crops during the upcoming UN Food System Summit. It's going to happen next month, and we proposed a couple of the initiative, and they selected what they call the traditional knowledge and the artificial intelligence. How best you can bring together food system transformations. So it's already happening in the different piece of the work, like FIO started the family farming, going for traditional systems, same thing, UN, UNESCO, they also talk on this aspect. The different level of the bodies in your European Commission started like that. There is a regenerative agriculture, the huge slurge of the regenerative agriculture across the world now. So that clearly shows that the importance of the traditional knowledge and food-based systems is coming. And we propose that to build a a knowledge base, a knowledge system, a wisdom. We can harvesting all the traditional knowledge, how best you can make to reach to the world. This is what we submitted, one of this UNFSS dialogue. I'm sure that they're going to consider. As you said that the green revolutions took nearly about 60 to 70 years to reach to the rural level. I don't think so. We should take that long time to bring into the across the landscape. We should be moving the rapid way so that it could not take more. Within a decade, by 2030, we left with about 10 seasons. Within that framework, we should reach that. We have to go aggressive in this way by working collectively from the producer, consumers, and the policy levels, and also the investment in terms of the developmental bank and UN systems to the donor relations. They have to work on that. So if we do the collective actions, I'm sure that we can fix a solution for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And we look forward to a quick changes and adoption of these traditional foods. And I think the COVID has already forced us to go for that.
Yes, you are right. I think we started already as a landscape, as example landscape. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Professor Das.
Yeah, I think that now let us first give the certificate. Anand, Mr. Anand.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, the certificate of honor for Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar. I request Dr. M. Ramesh, chairperson, to hand over the virtual certificate, which will be sent to him in an email attachment later.
It's my proud privilege to present certificate of appreciation on behalf of BLD University, KSTA, UNESCO, and other associated organizations to our expert, Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar. Please accept, sir.
Just a second.
Yeah, please upload. Please upload it. Is it?
Yeah,
it is uploaded.
Privilege to present you this appreciation certificate. Doctor, please accept.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this honor and providing the opportunities to everyone in the dignitaries, Dr. Kushal Das and Dr. Ramesh, Dr. The Kulkarni, and all the colleagues in the organizations. It's my pleasure, it's a humbleness for this kind gesture. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I request Dr. Arvind V. Patil. Dr. Arvind Patil, you are here, the Dean of Medical School.
No, sir.
Okay, so I request administrative officer and executive member of CPSHR BLD Association and a renowned pharmaceutical scientist, Dr. R.V. Kulkarni, you please hand over the certificate of honor to Dr. A.M. Ramesh.
Thank you, sir.
So the certificate of A.M. Ramesh, sir, right?
Yes, certificate of Dr. A.M. Ramesh.
Just a second.
Anand? Yeah.
I'm doing it.
Yes, sir. On behalf of BLD Association, PSHR, and BLD University, I thank Dr. A.M. Ramesh. In spite of his busy schedule, he chaired today's wonderful session. And I request Dr. A.M. Ramesh to accept our virtual certificate to be sent by post or email in due course.
Thank you very much, sir. It's my privilege to accept. I'm very grateful to Dr. Kushal Das, sir, and other esteemed faculty of BLDE for bestowing this honor on me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Grateful to you.
Thank you. I think Dr. Kulkarni, now I think that you have to start the panel discussion.
Panel discussion. Yes. Yes, sir. The next one.
And I will request Professor and Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar, most of the questions and queries and doubt you have to clear as an expert. Dr. A.M. Ramesh also to be cleared. And there are 4 panelists that they are here. At the moment, I think Dr. Mahatsav Biradar could not able to join. I request Dr. Arvind V. Patil, Dean of Faculty of Medicine, please join. Okay.
It's also nice to see Dr. Subhas also, despite of his busy.
Yeah, I think all distinguished
tour.
people, including Dr.
He was surgery, so that also finished that one.
Dr. Subrata, Dr. Arun Kumar, they should also join. Please start now. I think Dr. Arbi Kulkarni sir, please you.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, all. The next part of the program is panel discussion. I welcome our panelists, Professor Hamid Mubashiri sir, Dr. Arvind Patil, Dr. Mantesh Biradar may be joining shortly, and Dr. Murugesh Pattanasetti. I also request Professor Kushal Das to join the panel for the discussion. Professor Das is chairman of our Committee for Science, Humanity and Research, which was established recently by the BLD Association by the instruction of Honorable President Dr. M.B. Patil. Though the BLD Association is a century-old organization offering education to the needy people of this northern part of Karnataka, which was established in 1910, almost 111 years educational journey the BLD has crossed. We are running the educational institutions starting from schools to the PG courses, including Medical School of Medicine, which is deemed to be university now. More than 75 institutions are running under the BLD Association, and Honorable President wants to have a separate committee for promotion of science, humanity, and research. It was established last year only under the chairmanship of Dr. Professor Das. So we are working for the promotion of science from the school level itself. And this committee is organizing many programs, events, but due to this constraint of COVID period, we are organizing few virtual programs. This is one among the so to start with, I congratulate Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar sir. It was a wonderful lecture. I would like to link this today's lecture to the conservation of biodiversity. So recently, last few months back, we have celebrated our World Environmental Day with the theme of restoration of ecosystem. So linking this talk to the restoration of ecosystem, and somewhere I read that the greenhouse gas emissions plays a major role in the environmental. So if one person changes from his food habit from non-vegetarian to vegetarian, we can reduce the carbon footprint by 73% or so, and we can save nearly 200 animals per year. And first, I would like to start with Professor Mubashiri. Comment on this. How do you link today's lecture with the conservation of biodiversity? As Professor Chandrasekhar rightly pointed out, the processed food, which contains plastic as a packaging material, which is a big headache for the maintenance or management of this garbage nowadays. Please, your.
Thank you very much. Thank you from you, Professor Das, Professor Biradar, and all the administration of BLD for such an effort in addressing and talking about such an important issue. The thing is that we all nation are living on a boat, on a globe, on an earth, and are responsible for every aspect of the life on it. And I think this very matter, the agriculture and climate change, and then using the land, which is rather an asset, the asset that hasn't been found very close to it, even in the universe so far by different organizations. So this is all we have, and everybody is responsible to keep it in best condition. But I think the thing is that the matter should be addressed globally by United Nations, by FAO, and take everything in his hand so that every country, every nation should be obliged to obey the regulation that is defined. This is, as I said, just one boat, and somebody from high hierarchy, from the high level, in very broad spectrum, should consider every aspect of it. Unfortunately, we see that there are lots of migration happening in the world because of the different problems. Most of migrated people, immigrants, stay in the vicinity of the cities because they cannot afford to live inside the city. Then they use, because they came from the rural area, they don't know anything but the agriculture. So they start to use that land, which is rather abandoned land. And when they want the water to nourish the land, they use the wastewater that is coming from the very city. This is where the very poisonous vegetable is cultivated by them and is fed to the city. And there are not a minority. About 30% of some countries are living, population living in vicinity of the country. So when it's a matter of the global addressing, is first is to keep every nation, every people in their homeland, in home rural area, where there was for ages and through the different ancestors of them, they have been using that land with very high level of quality and prosperity. So this is first thing, and lack of that, we see that we are now going toward artificial food. In southwest of the Spain, there is a largest greenhouse in the world. Is it really they are growing all the plants in natural area where the humidity, light, and everything is artificial, and are feeding all the Europe, while there are lots of land is abandoned in somewhere else. So I think it's quite important to manage the globe and to us to write a petition to United Nations. Dr. Biradar mentioned some points, to mention to United Nations and to have FAO to somehow manage it globally so that the distribution of the people, distribution of the land, application of the land, everything is good. And there are lots of, we see that there are lots of intervention for financial problem. We can see that the wheat is poured into the ocean because they want to keep the price high. They say that cholesterol is not good for you. Last month you heard that they said it is not a matter anymore. Cholesterol is not that bad for you. While for a long time, they charged lots of people for cholesterol-free oil, cholesterol-free tablets, all sorts of things to keep the people diets. Now we are dealing with the rice with arsenic. And this rice actually has to be cultivated just for industrial purposes. But we see that that rice, that very rice is exported when it's consumed by people, and the poisonous arsenic is fed to the people. So this is another matter. Sometimes it's the cross breeding of the different plants. Another matter that we shouldn't, I mean, the FAO or other organization shouldn't allow to grow everything in anywhere. Some place where there is no water, they try to dig wells and cultivate rice, while the other places where there are an enormous amount of water, they turn toward different cultivation. So I think the good outcome of this very meeting will be a general petition to the United Nations and to the FAO, asking for global management of all the assets we are having in the world, so that everything is governed and obliged by the law for the sake of human health, what that brings enough oxygen for everybody, not global warming anymore, not flooding anymore, because every place where it has to be cultivated, it happens. So thank you very much for your meeting, and I think this outcome will brighten and somehow shed lights on the approach to this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Dr. E.M. Ramesh, sir, being part of the government, is there a regulation required for this?
May I get the questions? once
Yeah.
more.
Being part of the government, is there a need of regulations to reduce this carbon footprint or greenhouse emission effects and all?
Already there are regulations. Only thing is implementation.
Yes.
Implementation has to be strictly followed. Otherwise, there are number of regulations already. We are in B6, Bharat 6, as you know. It reduces the pollution of vehicles very much. But how far the vehicles follow this rule should be followed. Thank you.
That's right. So next panel, Dr. Arvind Patil, sir.
He's not there. He's in one place. He has gone now with the vice chancellor.
Okay. So next, we'll continue with Professor Kushal Das, sir.
Yeah.
As far as the biodiversity conservation is concerned, sir, what are the main blockades or challenges? How we can conquer them?
Okay, although I'm not the right person to speak about the biodiversity as such, being my background and all, but I have certain experience in working in certain environment and in the field level. And very interestingly, as I echo with Dr. Hamid Mubashiri that and Dr. A.M. Ramesh, that it's excellently, I have one more study, we have found that the places where particular type of crops were usually grown, which Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar very clearly pointed out, but for the interest of the money or interest of the industry or for the interest of the high crop growing or high type of generation of revenue, different crops have been grown there. That has made the change. This is one thing I found. Second thing I noticed, while my own research on arsenic toxicity in one part of the Karnataka, which I did it for 3 years consecutively with a long team with under WHO's financial support and the guidance of Dr. Dipankar Chakraborty, one of the renowned environmental scientists of Jadavpur University. It was a global, it was having Australian faculties, also having the American, Canadian faculty. It's a multicentric. So in this study, I was leading the medical teams and all. Very interesting, we have noticed that crops and the vegetations are badly affected, and very surprising, we found the vegetations have the lot of arsenics in that earth. So the soil is the reason. So why the soil has changed? Why the diversity of the soils, which was earlier agriculture favorable, why it changes? Later we inquired and we found that one gold mine named Hatti, which was closed for nearly 70 years, and suddenly it is opened up. Government opened and started, it is harvesting the gold from there. These changes of the geological changes has made the whole biodiversity changes. Crops and all the things affected by the arsenic from the rock and other soils, it has come out. And as there are no water, there are people used to take from the borewell. And very unfortunately, borewell have the very high level of water because it is a reserve. Mainly the toxic metals and all, usually it should be in the flowing if it goes, and all the Ganga also, if you take all the Nile or if you take the Mississippi, there are the flowing rivers also have the all type of pollutant metals and all. But fortunately, because they flow, so there is a changes are not deposited, but the borewell or the small pond where water restrained and it is suspended, and if there is in dark, because more the surface area, more the sunlight falls, and more the sunlight falls, arsenic turn into the arsenites and it is deposited in the soil, in the ground level of the river. So that does not happen. So it does not flow, nor it does not go out because it is a congested and the small bore, no sunlight. So it is in the water and the people drink it and they become ultimately very severely affected, gangrene, and we got the carcinoma in situ. That is the primary stage of carcinoma of the skin, lesions, gangrene, and their amputation and death. Later government interfered and they changed. Now the whole village has been shifted. It is now a dark and ghost village. It has been reported in the BBC. Even I have given an interview also myself and Dr. Chakraborty. So this is my understanding of this, that many factors, not only the changing the factor of the agroeconomical part in the different way, profit-making industry or mining and other sources, which is actually never thought to change this diversity, also may impact. So I think Dr. Biradar or Dr. Ramesh, they are the right person to actually expertise on that. Dr. Hamid is also expert in this line.
Thank you, sir. I'll go with my next panelist, Dr. Murugesh Pattan-Shetty. Dr. Pattan-Shetty, you are working closely with the Koti Vriksha Abhiyana in Vijayapur district. And we know for every second we are losing about 70,000 square meters of forest globally. This is a very alarming situation. And since you have worked with the Koti Vriksha Abhiyana, please throw some light on this.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. There is a famous quote in Sanskrit, Vriksho Rakshati Rakshitah. So with this quote, I would like to tell the experts who are gathered here, 2016, June 5, that is World Environment Day, we have taken one biggest project in Vijaypur district, that is Koti Vriksha Abhiyana, 1 crore tree plantation in 5 years. The reason why we have taken this tree plantation in 2016 is we have done a study with the forest department of government of Karnataka, looking at what is the forest coverage in Vijaypur district. Looking at this, the results were so pathetic. It was 0.17, not even 0.25%. So the actual forest percentage should be 28 to 33%. So look at where there was a huge gap. And thanks to Dr. M.B. Patil, the Minister of Government of Karnataka, and when the President of our BLD Association, he took this initiation of making a Koti Vriksha Abhiyana in this part. It was a big challenge for us because we need to take a lot of efforts and help from the government officials. In the first year, we did not be able to make it up, only 11 lakhs we have done. But last 5 years, sir, we have done this project very, very successfully. And entire departments, government departments have supported us, not only government department, there are so many NGOs who have supported us. Sir, why this is required? Reason is, if there is no forest density, there is no rain. If there is no rain, there is no grain. If there is no grain, then people will not get good health. For the lifespan will be reduced. We have seen that our elderly fathers or some people who are living 113 years, 107 years. Look at what is the present lifespan of human being. This is very pathetic. So Chandrasekhar Biradar sir has thrown a light on biodiversity, ecosystem restoration, accepted. But before that, to do all those things, we need rain, we need water. When our president was irrigation minister of government of Karnataka, he has made a lot of work and brought water to the places where it was very difficult to reach the water to that areas. He has made nearly about 150 lakh hectare water irrigation projects he has brought. Now next task was the canals will flow only during the season. But what we need to do to make the ground water table recharge, and what we need to do to attract the rain, to attract the clouds. So that is one biggest task which we have taken, Koti Vriksha Abhiyana or 1 crore tree plantation. So how we have promoted? There are so many schemes we have promoted. For example, somebody's marriage is there, plant, donate, or adopt a tree. Maybe on your birthday, maybe instead of April Fool, we have done April Cool, we have planted. Look at tomorrow is the Independence Day of India, 75th Independence Day. On that, we are again planting. So we are looking at and even through this platform, I can request Ramesh sir, can we make a regulation, if it is possible from the government of Karnataka, how you are giving permission to construct a home when they install solar system, can we make around 10 trees if they plant, even permission can be given. Look at the number of trees in across Karnataka can become a big number, which can contribute to the forest. So that is how, and even home gardening, I can say that, there are so many concepts there. And even government of Karnataka has taken a lot of efforts to promote agroforestation. See, sir, when we look at a satellite map on any of the geographical areas, maybe sir has shown that the entire urban has been messed up with, so a lot of buildings and roads. Now, even I can say that the moment when you're traveling from one town to another town, you can see that there are a lot of barren lands, especially I can say that Vijaypur, Bagalkot, and Gulbarga district. So how we need to cover? So that was government of Canada decided to go with the agroforestation. That was one of the biggest thing which has come. Now commercial crop, like you have seen sugarcane, but even we have seen commercial tree crops have come. Maybe red sandal, maybe sandalwood, maybe teakwood. There are so many people who are coming with herbal trees also, ashwagandha. There are so many herbal things that people have started working on that. So there is a say in Canada. I would like to use this platform using Canada. Honey, honey, kudidra halla, teni teni kudidra. It is not one's job. It is a job of each individual who is living on this earth. So I would like to quote even what has happened, sir. Even people have become so greedy. Why we are coming and discussing on this serious issue on today? It is because of the human greediness. And cash crop even is being more important now. And even we have seen chemical farming, we have seen organic farming. Now it is the time of our, I can say that natural farming is the time where we can say that the whatever food grain we eat, we don't know what is the kind of vitamins or minerals which has got in that food, which can make our health very, very, and lifespan can be increased. And even I have some points which I've made on this occasion. Now, organic farming is one, and the agricultural practice, the forest fruit planting. I think Basavaraj sir rightly focusing. Last time when we did a tent campaign, ecosystem restoration, during that time he has spoke on the forest fruit plantation. That is more important. So that can give biodiversity. That can give ignite biodiversity. Now we are forget if honeybees are died, a species gone out of this world, then only within 4 days the entire world is going to vanish. So we need how human has got right to or has a right to live on this earth. Even other animals are having the same right to live on this earth. Let us even that I can say that even becoming vegan, vegetarian, yes, that is one thing which I can say that. So even this has to be given more focus. And even one more thing would like to focus on here is the main focus which I am trying to present on this platform is the more important is how we are training our next generation. The next generation, because almost all people who are sitting or attending this gathering or this webinar, almost all are 40 plus. So our generation, whatever we can do, another looking at our lifespan, it is around another 30 years, maximum 40 years. I doubt, panel members or doctors have to tell me on this span of life. But what is the biggest responsibility? What we can do is how we can able to make our next generation to continue this effort, whatever strategy is being discussed on this platform, how we can make it to internalization of these strategies in a new era. So these are the points which I wanted to contribute here. And thanks for the opportunity to speak on this international platform. I would like to extend my thanks to Kushal sir and Ramesh sir and even Administrative Officer Arvind Kulkarni sir and even Basarai sir. Thanks a lot. That's all from my end.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Patan Shetty, for your remarks.
I think that Dr. Kulkarni, let us see that some audience.
Yes, there is one question. Yes.
Yeah, because you have given some points also further for the fodder. As a fodder, you have given some more. Let us see some other people who are here can respond.
There is one question from Dr. Swastika Das, madam. I think this question is relevant to Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar sir only. The question goes like this: how long it will take us to have pesticide-free agriculture system? Is there any thought to ban all the pesticides?
Thank you, sir. And also the questions asked by Dr. Swastika Das. I think this is very, very relevant. When you talk about natural farming, organic farming, we need to, what we call detoxifications of our chemical farming. And this is very, very essential because I see a lot of people switching to the agriculture and natural farming without detoxification of the soils. Even they're not qualified to be organic because there's so much of the toxicity in the soil. This is where the US and Europe, they adopted this like the policy level, allowing the farmers to leave their land fallow, let the wild weeds and everything they grow there are the cover crops, so that not using any chemical, so that slowly within a couple of years, they are replenishing this green manure without the chemical. They rebuild the soil organic carbon and leaching out those toxins. That's one way. Other ways, like when this comes to the policy level, but you look in the consumer level, we start eating the chemical-free food that pushes towards this one. The farmers shift to the like a less chemical. They can reducing the amount of the quantity of the chemicals going there because of the demand. For the pesticide, it is triggered by the farmers. And farmers, why they need to use the chemicals is triggered by the consumer segment. And this how this interlinked each other. Consumer demand for very nice looking, very shiny, uniformity, that cannot be done with the natural farming or the organic farming. So that in the nature, they are all the different, not the linearity. It's in non-linearity in the nature, it's the quantum. So that's where they have to go into that. So it's different level, the consumer level, producer level, policy level. So we have to link it to all these together. In terms of how many years it takes to make it a pesticide-free agriculture is depend upon how soon our consumer segment change that directions. But if without looking into the consumer segment, looking at if I want to go to organic, I think 3 years. If you have very nice strategically develop the mechanisms, how you can reduce the toxicity in the soil and bring the crop diversity. One side, the biodiversity is very essential for this one, and bring the more biodiversity, bring the more trees into the system. That really help us to clean the detoxify our soils and building the soil organic carbon from the 0.001% at present level to the 2% that require nearly 3 to 5 years to detoxify the soils. Then when the consumer segment is moving away from already biopesticide is coming into picture, the ban, it's there already. Some of the chemicals you're using is already banned chemicals we're using it. So they take into the glyphosate. You are like herbicide becomes so prominent here. It's banned nearly long ago, but still we are using it. Like many chemicals, even though banned, they're putting the different the brands, different names, it's consuming the people, and also the going beneath the laws and regulations that Dr. Ramesh mentioned that there's a lot of the laws and regulations there, but the impactive, what's called a collective actions is lacking because the awareness is not there. Often farmers, I see the spraying without looking at even the many people, they're practicing a lot of the investment agriculture, they see the amount of the chemicals that dredging into their farming and so much of the vast impact on themselves as a producers and also consumers, also environment. Sometimes when going to this like very intensive agriculture practices, it is like the smashan, what you call it, it's a graveyard. It's like everything, nothing is there, everything is dead. So this is the practices we have to shift to that one. Often you look into the only economic return. That is one of the biggest the problem here. We look into everything myself. Anything, I not want to return anything back to the soil, anything back to the animals, anything back to the species, the composition, structure. We not want that. Everything I want to take it from myself. So this is what happening in the agricultural practices. This is the core area. When you think about responsibility ourselves, every citizen, every grower, my contribution not only for myself, but to the nature. If this one attitude changes, I think we can build a pesticide-free agriculture because it's not only once at the policy level, government level, it is the consumer level. It is the mass movement should happen that one. Then only government will listen to that. So thank you for that, the vital questions.
Thank you, sir. I request participants to put your queries to our panel members.
You can ask directly. You just unmute. Whoever is here, please unmute and ask the question. I'm seeing the names, or I will. Dr. Gopal Krishna, are you here?
Yes, sir. He is here.
Yes, yes, yes. Dr. Gopal Krishna, you are an environmental PhD, environmental science PhD. Do you have any question?
He's muted. Dr. Gopal.
Hello, any question, Dr. Gopal Krishna?
He's unmuted
Yes, sir.
now.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, please.
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, you are audible. As
Sir, how do we enhance the water holding capacity of the soil? And soil carbon has a role to play in the enhancement of water holding capacity of the soil. And what is the role potential for the microbes in this?
Okay. Should I take this question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Gopal. The first questions you are talking about water holding capacity of the soil. If you bring the soil organic carbon or biomass or humus is, you know that humus, the human is derived from the humus. Humus is the organic matter left on the soil surface. So that is what we call mulching. When it comes to natural farming, is mulching. So this amount of the soil organic carbon, crop residues, leaf litter, is left on the surface of the soil that help us to rebuild our soil and the water holding capacity. Usually 1 meter of the soil should build into the soil organic carbon about 2%. It nearly hold the most of the 500 millimeter rainfall we are pouring into that one is at the 50% water can hold in the soil. If that capacity we retain, it's really it's not required further irrigations or the rain. So this is what you need to build, that high soil organic carbon content one side, building the tree cover that helps us to infiltrate the soil, the no-till farming, zero-till farming, and also not cutting pulling the weeds and crops, leaving that soil, what's called root zone in the soil. So that helps it to dry it up, then create the percolation channels when the rain comes. So these 5 approaches, we can follow it. And basically there is no flood, there is no drought. So they can hold enough water, and our rivers and the streams become perennial, and it addresses our flood and drought as well. So that's what we need to go back to, that nature-based solution in terms of the soil, building the soil organic carbon and crop diversity and biodiversity.
Thank you, sir.
I want to contribute something here on Chandrasekhar Biradar, sir. There is one project which is, in South Africa. One project you executed in South Africa, that they are making pits everywhere. So that pit is, during the time of a rain, comes, the entire rainwater is being stored across the area. So that is how, which can contribute to the soil carbon, what Gopal Krishna sir was asking. That is one. The second thing is, the soil erosion and all, see, promoting a green cover that can also make the good, amount of, carbon in the soil, which can lead to the new life.
I think that's what Dr. Murugesh said. Thanks for bringing that one. I forgot to mention. The ICARDAS, we developed so many rainwater technology. One is called Velarani. That's basically the crescent pit on the contour types on the hilly slopes. So that basically open up the small trenches that help us to percolate the water. Second, we call a Marab water harvesting, means where the slope is there, putting the embankments on the hilly slope, the storing that water. Then there is a native vegetations that build up around that where the water is stored. That's really started building up the biodiversity and percolations and increasing the groundwater table. So there's so many ways to, that's what the main concept here, stop the water rolling on the land surface. Do whatever approaches, bring the vegetation, tree cover, trenches, embankment. Let water not run on the surface. Let it will go in the soil, go into the percolation. I think that's the one way to restore our landscape. Thank you for that one, bringing that. That's across the dry areas, they started to become popular now, but it's only the economic cost is quite high. It go to large scale. Nearly 41% of the dry areas. If that required, there's economic cost is involved, and also there is what you called a responsible grazing. We did about 30 years of research into that one. We started planting all this, the green cover. Then the grazing is one of the biggest issue in the dry areas. Take it from the Bijapur to the Middle East, to Iran, where Dr. Hamid will be there in the Middle East. And whatever landscape we establishes, we not have a community level grazing a responsibility. They graze out. 10 years we established in 1 day or 1 week, everything become bone dry. So this is one of the biggest issues in the grazing management, and why the grazing becomes so popular. Also, you can link to the diet. You demand for the more meat, and there is the demand for the more. Our carrying capacity in the Middle East, in for Jordan, I did about 40 years of the landscape changes, how the pristine grassland changed to the barren land just because of we were introducing the more goat and sheep in the name of the policy, in the name of helping the farmers, providing the subsidies. They're putting 1 goat per the kilometer, the carrying capacity. We introduced 9 to 10 goats. That means we raised out everything quickly. So it's again the bringing the awareness among the policy level as the community levels.
Sir, I would like to add one more thing to sir again. Now, our president, who was former minister of government of Karnataka when he was into irrigation, he has made one concept. Now, this was already we have completed 1 crore tree plantation now. Now we are coming with 5 crore plantation. I think you were aware of 5 crores. So that is what we are working on to fill all the streams and even make proper check dams and proper pits there. So the groundwater, the water can be stored there only to maintain the moisture at the stream level. So this is how, see what you said, make whatever the efforts which can make. Let us not make the water to roll. Let us hold the water, which can again, initiate the biodiversity.
Yeah. Thank you for that consecutive everyone. The other day, that Dr. M.B. Patil mentioned about it. They also like the idea that when we're discussing about bringing the native fruit tree species along that line. He's mentioning about diverting the water for the filling this 169 streams, what we call Halla, the small streams, and planting the 2 rows of the fruit trees along the both side banks of I shared some example in the US how they put like if the meter of the width of the stream, they're leaving the 2 meter both sides as a reserved the land that kept for growing the native vegetations and biodiversity there. The same concept of the stream management, if you taken care, we're reducing the soil erosion drastically and refiltering the water and bringing the lot of the fruit trees. If the stream going along the farmer's field, if there's fruit trees going along this one, I'm sure they're not going to cut them because of that yielding the benefits to them, the farmers as a nutrition income, and then they can preserve that biodiversity along their stream passing on their land. Of course, it's the private land, also the public land. We bring the edible landscape, something useful to the people, I'm sure they're not going to cut that one. So what is happening in the past, we go with the timber-based. Timber-based means you're cutting them after some time. So you have to move from the timber to the fruit and the medicinal and aromatic and all those things. That's where I think if we increase the Panchakut everyone, this simple concept, I'm sure that there'll be huge success to the people. And I'm sure they remember forever.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think that Mr. Padugoda Patil, are you here? He's also one of the environmental activists, and he did a miraculous job, and that is amazing. One full barren mountain, a small peak, our kind of hillock, he made it into green in 5 years, completely changes. These are the right, Mr. Padugoda Patil, you can speak in Kannada, you will just say a few words. Of your own experience, you share. I think his connectivity is poor.
Okay.
I think Chandrasekhar Biradar sir knows that project, even if he can explain.
Yeah, he's inviting me also because of my health. I could not able to go, but I will visit. And I request Dr. A.M. Ramesh and Dr. Hamid in future from the UNESCO side, you please visit here and see this part. This is how miraculous man he has done single-handed with a small team members, small group of teams, without any support actually from that one.
That's definitely the commendable work. They turn the price. This is one of the example of the look at the Bhutnal as the public the funded projects do that. This is the private people that themselves they turn the entire barren land into a thick forest cover with several species. And this is the effort by their father and the children together, uncles together, the family, the effort, and how to make use of the schemes of the government. They given the best examples, and how to utilize of the species to bring this the cover. Then I thought, why not to turn your the hill into the ecosystem restoration camp for the public land? So that's what they have to start this one, so that people they're aware of this one. Even public and individual farmers can do this kind of effort. I see nearly in the Bijapur about 60% of such kind of the barren landscape is sitting there. Turn about that one really about to reach our sustainable development goal. Hats up to the Paragoda Patil and his father, uncles, and everyone involved as a family win, along with all the government support and they provided for the schemes and even the nursery stock they provided, and also the irrigation, all the people encouraging those kind of people to come up and do the more activities. So yeah, just wanted to mention the quick thanks to the Dr. Paragoda and his team.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
Sir, I had visited Bijapur
in
2013. After that, I came back in 2019. There was actually sea change. Tree covers were there everywhere. In 2019, there. I must congratulate Dr. Murugesh Pattan Shetty and his team for planting more than 1 crore trees. Possibly, if I come 1 or 2 years later, I will see only green Bijapur.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's really a very good, excellent project. Congratulations to you and your team. And you mentioned about tree planting in urban areas. As you know, in Bangalore, every inch of land costs so much. So people won't leave even a single inch. Only thing is now rainwater harvesting has become a mandatory thing. And we should make at least each household to plant a tree and grow it. Only then it can be possible that Bangalore becomes green. And one more thing, I appreciate Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar's concept of urban gardening. If we can grow rooftop gardening, it will also help in in developing microclimatic changes in our urban areas. Thanks for wonderful presentation, Doctor. And in fact, yesterday I was speaking to our Honorable Chairman, Dr. S. Ayappan. I told him that Dr. Chandrasekhar will be delivering a talk. He was very appreciative of your efforts. And he said that next, when he comes to India, we should request him to deliver a talk in KSTA building in our own campus. So I will take your contact number from Kushal Das sir and we'll be in touch, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramesh. We're humble the words and your active role in the rebuilding this one, appreciating all the work has been done in the dry area of the world. And it's much appreciated. The Panch Nadigalu become a vital landscape and let all the streams go perennial. I think that is the one of the ambition of the dry areas of the world. And we've taken all this example because of the taking this, whatever the work has done, the private farmers and even the Karadudi area, they start doing one of these examples. I think that's one of the examples set for the developed world to look at that one. Something cannot be done there. What can be done? These are the examples they're looking for the development organization to investment. Every time they'll take this example, no, Bijapur, nothing can be done there. They're diverting the funds to where that can be easily planted. Because of there was no success because people done in the past, they just use the money with exotics and is washed out and again they went to the drain. This is the reasons the investors, they're not looking forward to that one. Now the examples we have there to prove, I monitor these in the last 10 years in the Bijapur landscape, the satellite, I see the greening is slowly improving that 0.24% to the now 0.7% to the, but the planted area near like a Karadodi area is nearly come to 39% in the last 5 years. So if you bring the same landscape approaches and like a multi-crop, multi-species and what we call a multiple tree species rather than go for only timber, there's wood, we have to turn that into the biodiversity parks from the urban landscape to the city landscape, like able leaderships coming from the government of India, like EU and CEOs as the active CEO and different things, the policy level. And even I'm telling the politician also, if you're looking for the votes, let your landscape become green. The people harvest the fruit from that tree, they don't need to ask for the vote, they will vote for you. So this is what the concept Dr. Party started. And let every politician look about if they touch the landscape with the greening, the trees will vote for you. That's what I'm telling all the politicians, like wherever meeting, so they do that side. So thank you again, sure, I'm definitely touched. Even honored to know about Dr. Ayappan, he was our board member in the ICADA,
yes,
and I'm very we visited several times. And in fact, he told that he's arranging September as a one guest speaker. I'm happy to involve in that one. But it's my pleasure again to get in touch with any work has been doing in Karnataka, especially in the dry belt, where it's required more planting. So that I congratulate everyone involved in greening the dry areas.
The last point from my end. I think
Okay.
when you are talking about politicians, now we have promoted Koti Vriksha Abhiyana through one vote, one plant. So that is even we have promoted, we have used on even assembly elections or even
Right.
wherever possible. We have, at least if you are responsible to vote, then you are responsible for one plant also. So that is how we have motivated people here. That is what I wanted to share on this ground. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic.
Thank you. I think Mr. Padugora Patil is here only. Do you like to say something, Mr. Padugora Patil? We are all are appreciating you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Bandwidth issue. Maybe he's staying his hill forest.
Damnaladu tree plantation ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ರಿ.
ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ಸರ್. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಗುಡ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ನೂನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಮೊದಲ. ಸೊ ಡೊಮ್ನಾಳ ಇದು ಬಿಜಾಪುರ ಗ್ರಾಮದಿಂದ ಸುಮಾರು ಬಿಜಾಪುರ ನಗರದಿಂದ 25 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ದೂರದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದದ್ದು. ಸುಮಾರು 2016ರಿಂದ ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ND ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ಅವರು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ರಿಟೈರ್ಡ್ ಶಿರಸ್ತೇದಾರು ಅವ್ರ ಒಂದು ನೇತೃತ್ವದಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು ಒಂದು ಶನಿವಾರ ರವಿವಾರ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ಜಾಬ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಶನಿವಾರ ರವಿವಾರ ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಸುಮಾರು ಇವತ್ತು 10,000 ಮರಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಬೆಳೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ 10,000 ಮರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಒತ್ತ ಕೊಟ್ಟದ್ದು ಎದಕ್ಕಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಅರಳಿ ಗಿಡ, ಬಸ್ರಿ ಗಿಡ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬೇವಿನ ಗಿಡ, ಸೊ ಈ ಹುಣಸೆ ಮರಗಳು ಇಂಥವೆಲ್ಲ ಸುಮಾರು ಈಗ ಒಂದು 6,000 ರಿಂದ 7,000 ಗಿಡಗಳನ್ನ ಬೆಳೆಸಿದ್ವಿ. ಉಳಿಕಿದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದರ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಯಾವ್ದಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಹೊಂಗೆ ಮರವನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣ್ಬೋದು, ನೇರಳೆ ಹಣ್ಣಿನ ಗಿಡವನ್ನು ಕಾಣ್ಬೋದು, ಕಾಡಿನೆಲ್ಲಿಯನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕಾಣ್ಬೋದು, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಸೀತಾಫಳ ಹಣ್ಣ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬರ್ಡ್ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಸೀತಾಫಳ ಗಿಡಗಳನ್ನ ಹಚ್ಚಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ನೇರಳೆ ಹಣ್ಣಿನ ಗಿಡಗಳನ್ನು. ಸೊ ಈ ಟೈಪ್ ಒಂದು 10,000 ಮರಗಳು ಇವತ್ತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 10,000 ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಾವು ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಬೆಳೆಸಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸುಮಾರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಊರ ಕುಡಿಯೋಕ್ಕೂ ಕೂಡ ನೀರು ಇದ್ದಿತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ರೈತರ ಹೊಲಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾವು ತಿರುಗಾಡಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾವಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ ನೀರನ್ನ ಅದು ಒಂದೇ ಟ್ಯಾಂಕರ್ ಸಿಗ್ಲಿ, 2 ಟ್ಯಾಂಕರ್ ಸಿಗ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಅರ್ಧ ಟ್ಯಾಂಕರ್ ನೀರ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕರು ಕೂಡ ಆ ನೀರುಗಳನ್ನ ತಂದು ಸುಮಾರು ಬೇಸಿಗೆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾರ್ಚ್, ಏಪ್ರಿಲ್, ಮೇ ಬಾರಿ ಹೊರಿಬಲ್ ಇತ್ತು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕಳೆದ 2 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ. ಸೊ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಒಳಗೆ ಸುಮಾರು 5,000 ಗಿಡಗಳನ್ನ ಬದುಕಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟದ ದಿನಗಳವು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಇದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಕಾರಣಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ND ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಅವರೊಂದು ಡೆಡಿಕೇಶನ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಏನಿದೆ, ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಏನು ಪಿಂಚಣಿ ಹಣ ಏನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಈ ಗಿಡಗಳನ್ನ ಬೆಳೆಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಓಡಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಅಳಿಲಿ ಸೇವೆಯಾಗಿ ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವ್ರ ವಯಸ್ಸಾದ ಕಾರಣ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದಕ್ಕೂ ಎಲ್ಲದನ್ನು ಅವ್ರು ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನ್ ಬೇಕು ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಸೊ ಅದರಂತೆ ಕೆಲವು ನಮ್ಮ ಊರಲ್ಲಿ ಯುವಕರನ್ನ ಕರೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಶನಿವಾರ ರವಿವಾರ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗುಡ್ಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಪುಟ್ಟ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿವಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಅದರಂತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಸುಮಾರು ಒಂದು 200-300 ಗಿಡಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಬೆಳೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಅದರಂತೆ ನಾಳೆ ಆಗಸ್ಟ್ 15 ನಾಳೆಗೆ ಸುಮಾರು 50 ಗಿಡಗಳನ್ನ ಹಚ್ಚೋ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಮುರುಗೇಶ್ ಪಟ್ಟಣ ಶೆಟ್ಟಿ ಅವರು, ಆಮೇಲೆ MB ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ಸಾಹೇಬ್ರು ಇವ್ರದೊಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ. ಯಾಕಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅವ್ರು ಪೂರ್ವದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಇಷ್ಟ ನಮ್ಮ ಊರೊಳಗೆ 10,000 ಗಿಡ ಹಚ್ಬೇಕಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭ ಇತ್ತು. ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಸಾಹೇಬ್ರ ಕಡೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವ್ದೋ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋದಕ್ಕಾರ ಅವ್ರು ಬೈದ್ ಬಿಟ್ರಿ, ಕೆಲಸ ಹೊಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬರ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ ಒಂದ್ 100 ಗಿಡ ಹಚ್ಚೋಗ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಅದು ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಹತ್ತು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾಕೋ 100 ಗಿಡ ಹಚ್ಚಂದ್ರಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ. ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಪೂರ್ವದಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತು ನಮ್ ಕಾಕರು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಆ 100 ಗಿಡಗಳನ್ನ ಏನ್ ನಾವು ಹೋಗಿ ಪಿಟ್ಸ್ ತೆಗಿಸಿದೇವು. ಕಾಕರ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಒಳಗಿದ್ರು. ಕಾಕರ್ ಹಿಂಗೊಂದು ಸಾಹೇಬ್ರು ಬೈದಿದ್ರು, ಹಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿದೇವ. ನಾ 2 ದಿವಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ, ಬಂದ್ ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತೇಳಿ 100 ಗಿಡ ಹಚ್ಚಿ ಸಾಹೇಬ್ರನ್ನ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದೇವಿ. ಅವರು ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ದವ್ರನ್ನ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಗ್ರೀನ್ ವಿಲೇಜ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಸುಮಾರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಪಿಟ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅವರು ಹಣದ ಒಂದು ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ದವರು. ಸೊ ಇವ್ರದೆಲ್ಲರ ಒಂದು ಸಹಾಯ ಸಹಕಾರದಿಂದ ಇವತ್ತು ಡೊಮ್ನಾಳ ಗುಡ್ಡ ಅದು ಒಂದು ರಾಜ್ಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ರಾಜ್ಯ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿ, ನಾವ್ ಯಾರಿಗ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಅದು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಆದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡಿ ಗುರುತಿಸಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಡೊಮ್ನಾಳ ಗ್ರಾಮಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ರಾಜ್ಯ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನೂ ಹಲವಾರು ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿಗಳು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ್ತವೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿಗಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಇವತ್ತು ಮಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಪರಿಸರಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಮುಂದಿನ ದಿವಸ ಈ ಜನ್ಮ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪೀಳಿಗೆಗೆ ನಾವ್ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಹಣ, ಆಸ್ತಿ, ಅಂತಸ್ತು, ರೊಕ್ಕ, ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಏನು ಇಡಬಾರ್ದು. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ತಿನ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು 4 ಹಣ್ಣಿನ ಗಿಡಗಳು ಬೇಕು, ಉಸಿರಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಹುಟ್ಟು ಬಂದದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾರ್ಥಕ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರೂ ನನಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವಹಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಅವಕಾಶನ ತಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಹಂಚಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸೊ ತಾವು ಮತ್ತೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಗಿಡಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾನು ತಮಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಸರ್.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪಾರುಗೌಡ ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ಅವರೇ, ಬಹಳ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದೀರಾ. ನಾ ಮುಂದಿನ ಸರಿ ವಿಜಯಪುರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಕುಶಾಲ್ ದಾಸ್ ಅವರ ಸಹಾಯ ತಗೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ವಿಸಿಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಗುಡ್ಡ ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಕಣ್
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಸರ್.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಓಕೆ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್.
I think that now the time has come to conclude. I request Dr. R.V. Kulkarni, sir, Professor Kulkarni, now let us conclude.
Thank you.
Conclude now, and with a
I request
certificate. Two certificates will be given here. Dr. Murugesh Patan Shetty, and next is the Dr. Professor Hamid Mubashiri. Two certificates you have to give now. Anand.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Professor Hamid Mubashiri certificate, citation.
Yes, sir.
And I request Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar, please you officially hand over the certificate to Professor Hamid Mubashiri.
Oh, thank you very much. It was my pleasure to attend this session and learn from the very high expertise of Dr. Biradar. Thank you very much for certificate. Thanks a lot.
It is a pleasure to have you, Dr. Hamid, and bring your unique experience, and especially the working the dry areas, bringing the new way of the education reform, the moving towards the ecology-based solutions. So that's really much appreciated, and you richly deserve the more and more the recognitions and the awards across your work in the bringing the greenness into the dry areas.
Thank you very much indeed. And I just wanted to further emphasis on your very wise mention of the feeling of the people, because we need to have efficient consumption of the food. And that is what that is happening, food processing and others. And sometimes the not appropriate condition in the gut and gut biobiome that makes a lot of waste of the material that the people consume. So we need to educate to people to say that not the quantity of the food, but the quality of it, and especially ingredient is needed, and especially gut microbiome is very important, because the number of nerve around gut is more than the nerve we have in the brain. So, and normally people just ignore the importance of the gut and digestion system. So we have to educate them to make sure that the food, no matter how a small amount of it, is efficiently consumed and digested. Thank you very much indeed for your very informative and constructive discussion and the presentation.
Thank you. I think now Dr. Patan Shetty, Anand,
Yes, sir.
Dr. Patan Shetty.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I request Dr. M. Ramesh to hand over the certificate.
Indeed, it's my proud privilege to present the certificate of honor to Dr. Patan Shetty. He has worked excellently. In fact, it's amazing that he has planted one crore. I mean, how much is it? 1 crore, is it?
Yes.
1 crore plants so far. He's going for 5 crores. All the best from Karnataka Science and Technology Academy. It will be a privilege to come and see your planting when I come next time. Please accept this, Dr. Patan Shetty.
Sir, thank you.
Please accept this.
I am truly with the certificate, and the project was initiated by our President, Dr. A.B. Patil, sir. We are just people who are army, who are trying to fulfill that, the kind of objective which our President has got, and when he was, district in charge minister. In the coming days also, with the entire Karnataka and entire society, we will try to promote tree plantation till we breathe last. Thanks a lot, sir.
So thank you very much. I think Professor R.V. Kulkarni, sir, you please now conclude the session and complete it, the end.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Indeed, wonderful session and talked by Dr. Chandrasekhar. Sir, we are fortunate to have you today on this meaningful day. The session was very wonderful, and I thank you on behalf of BLD Association, CPSHR, and BLD University for your wonderful talk and spending time with us, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Our panel members, Professor Hamid Mubashiri, Dr. Hamid always will be with us whenever we organize webinars and all. Sir, thank you very much for your support on the way. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And I thank Dr. A.M. Ramesh sir from government part. Sir, in spite of your busy schedule, you participated, accepted our invitation. Thank you very much, sir, for your consent and spending time with us. And I thank
It's
Dr.
my
Murugesh.
pleasure. I should thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I thank Dr. Murugesh Patansetti for taking part as a panel member and sparing time with us and sharing his contributions, thoughts with us. Thank you, Dr. Murugesh Patansetti. I thank Dr. Arvind Patil, sir, who is Dean of Faculty of Medicine of our own medical college, Bailey Deemed to University. Thank you, sir, for spending time with us. And I thank all the faculty members, heads of the department, and other participants for having taken part in this wonderful session. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Kushal Das sir and Dr. Kulkarni sir for providing me the opportunity to chair this wonderful session by Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar. Thank you very much. Grateful to you.
Thank you, Dr. Das, for all this, bringing the team together to make it a wonderful session.
Thank you very much, and have a nice time. Take care, and hopefully no more problem of pandemic coronavirus, and no flooding, no fire, jungle firing, and so on. Hopefully a better life in near future for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, Anand, you can now close the session.
Yes, sir, sure.
And I last of all, I thank the IT department of the BLD University, Mr. Anand. He has done an enormous job from creating this thing to main. I thank to Dr. Sudhir Bagli, Dr. Onu, all of them from the IT department, fully supported by the chairman, Dr. Deepak Chauhan. So this was a great support for all of us. And on behalf of the UNESCO Unit Twin and the head of the environmental health sciences in the under UNESCO Chair Life Sciences, on behalf of the UNESCO Unit Twin program, I thanks to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Nice to meet everyone.
Bye, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Happy Independence Day tomorrow, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Anand, you can close now.